Ruan edu Criso Vinkartref Murn and now in Saisneg and now in English. Good morning. How has your day been? I'm Ruan and welcome to what passes for my spooky house round these parts. And I have indeed put my hair back. I have it set in rag rollers right now. Good morning, Emerald, and Steampunk Act, and Megan Raquel. Good morning to you all, even if it is indeed regarded as evening where you are. What the? Oh, that's right. Wait, why is there only one then? Did the other one get lost? I put a pair of heavy-duty bobby pins on this bandana because they often slip off of my head during the day. In fact, I have lost at least one because I was hauling ass to a bus stop and did not notice that my danner slipped off. So, yeah, I've lost at least one, possibly two. The reason I say possibly two is because I don't remember if I left the house that day wearing one. I just know that I had been wearing one most of the previous couple of weeks, and but I was in a hurry when I left, which means that it is possible I didn't even put one on just because I was rushing. So yeah. But yeah, I got these heavy duty, like, I forget what Conair calls them, but like they're an extra tight grip, and that's how it stays on my head during the day. Like I said, I've set my hair in rag rollers overnight. Well, for overnight. I just felt like having curls tomorrow. That's the mood I'm in right now. I was kind of hoping they'd be set by the time I started the stream, but I have been in a bit of a productive mood. In fact, I changed the name of this week's stream at the last minute, and I changed it to Hobby Stream, because that is what I plan for at the moment. I'm not necessarily going to go straight to the puzzle, because of crap and stuff. Yeah, because there's so okay, like many pagan dipshits, I put a different seasonal wreath on the front door of my unit. Speaking of which, I will get to that because I usually do some form of life update during the puzzle streams, whereas when I'm doing the WFKU stream, I try to keep that more to music and the subculture, but that doesn't mean I won't talk about subcultural stuff during puzzle stream. This is like for anybody new and watching in the archive, just to like make sure it all gets out within the first 5 minutes or so. I know everybody in right now, or at least who have made themselves known to me right now, because this isn't always accurate about how many people are watching the stream. In fact, like there have been times where it says like one person is in the chat during the stream, but there were at least 5 names going by in the live chat. So where was I going with this? Somewhere. Okay, so yeah, I've still got the winter wreath out on the front of this door, and I'm sure a lot of people with seasonal affective disorder experience this kind of burst of energy when winter starts ending. Yeah, at least if that's your season. The reason they changed it from seasonal affective disorder, or at least gave it a more broad name, these are produce bags, but for some reason, I know exactly the reason. There is still soot flying around my apartment. If you saw the Instagram story photo that I posted last night, the old wick on my 110-year-old kerosene heater. In fact, I know about how old it is because well, the seller on eBay said it's a 520. Yeah, said it's a Perfection 525 because that's the emblem on it. But I found a website that is run by um, enthusiasts for the Perfection kerosene heaters and portable stoves that were, sort of like a really bustling company, late 19th, early 20th century. The overall design of this one is a Perfection 520, not a 525. So the emblem has clearly been replaced by an inaccurate emblem. So it's a good 10 years older than the eBay seller believed it to be because he didn't do his research. Um, so yeah, I got it for a practical steal, even in the condition it was in, which was mostly discolored. It looked like a lot of surface rust. In fact, it was being sold like as is, describing it as having a lot of surface rust. So I was expecting surface rust, but what I got instead was just like the basic discoloration of steel this old. So I'm good. I'm good. Like I said, I want to say about half of what I usually see these kinds of heaters going for on eBay. God damn it. Is this okay? I'm gonna be farting around with some settings here right now because I'm not sure if this is okay. Okay. Wow. Okay, this is indeed how sooty. Oh my gosh, my apartment is still like covered in so much soot right now. Long story short, I learned the hard way last night. You know what? I'm just gonna nope, wrong one. I'm just gonna straight up go with a fancy pants filter here. You know, I'm gonna go with this one. This is one of my standbys. But yeah, okay, yeah. I was wondering why it was looking like kind of pinkish, kind of sepia on here because it usually does. I know that there's warm lighting in my kitchen, and plus I'm bumping some warm lighting off one of the floor lamps in the front room over there. Some of that is bumping off of me. So, but it doesn't usually look this peachy sepia that it was for the first few minutes. So yeah, that is how much soot is still flying around the airways in my unit right now. Yeah, like I said, I learned the hard way. That yeah, you really do need to replace those old wicks annually. There is a wick waiting for me at Home Depot, which just I would have been out there today, but all things considered, it got very inconvenient very fast today. So I had to pass that, but I will go in tomorrow. That is on my mental to-do list for tomorrow, just because it arrived about a week ago, Tuesday, I believe, but I barely remember the call that I got from Home Depot about it. I barely remember this call because it was at 9:30 a.m. and but yeah, I kind of vaguely remembered having the conversation the following day. And so I went and looked in my phone log, and there it was. Home Depot called me the day before. Whereas, when I woke up Wednesday, I was just wait, did Home Depot call me? But no, they called me the day before. That is not when I say to my doctors and everybody, do not call me before, ideally, not before noon, but 10:30 is usually okay. I will usually be coherent enough to have a phone call as early as 10:30. Usually. But like I said, they went a whole hour earlier than that, and it just I am not a functional human before noon. I'm barely a functional human. I'm barely a functional human regardless, but I can function at half speed, 3/4 capacity, as early as 10:30 in the AM hours. So yeah. And of course, daylight saving time, this is going to mess with me for a few days. It always does. Um, I can't remember if that was last night or tonight. Okay. The Fitbit is still looking like my kitchen clock, which is running close to on time, which means the batteries need to be replaced soon. Because I keep my analog clocks, well, except this one, which is like a digital interpretation of analog clocks. So yeah, like I keep my analog clocks running in the area of about 5 minutes ahead, whereas the kitchen clock, the Kit Kat in the kitchen, he's running maybe a minute fast, which means his batteries are winding down, which means I need to replace them, which means I'm probably going to do a naughty. Oh wait, no, I have a couple C cells over that way. What the hell was I doing with them over there? I'm not sure, but I do know they've been over that way by the on the end of the couch for about a week now, maybe more than that. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not. Yeah. So I've just got this burst of energy. That's come about like within the last week. So that considered. Oh shit. Oh well. One of my apps, Receipt Hog. I don't think I did any for this week, which means I'm gonna miss like the big bonus point potential at the end of this month. And I can't really do it from the phone while I'm streaming, so I mean, unless I wanted to cut the stream short, do that, and then like start a new stream, but like that just seems like too much trouble right now. So I was going somewhere with this. Oh right, yeah. So seasonal affective disorder. I don't have one of those lamps because even though it has been proven in clinical settings that it is the most effective treatment for seasonal affective disorder to have one of those little lamp things. Medicare will not cover it. The little HMO partnered Medicare that I've got also will not cover it. If I were to pay for one from the medical supply place out on Benson's, I forget the street they're out on in the west side of Ann Arbor. I know it is like I have to take 2 buses to get there, at least 2. I think it was just 2 the last time I went there, but I also had to walk another 1/4 mile, which is definitely why I have not been there since June. So, because there's that 1/4 mile walk, and of course the bus times are sucking even more right now because public health emergency and all of that. So where was it? Right. So yeah, I've got this burst of energy. In fact, like I washed down the wall. I'm sure this is not gonna like impress anybody right now, but so I've been I got these vinyl tile things at Target a week or so ago. So I got these things, and I've been gonna like lining the border up along the ceiling. I've come about that far with it because I had to finish washing the walls because fruit flies. The rest can go to your imagination if you so wish, though I don't want to know why one would imagine that kind of thing. So then what happens? God, it died. Oh, okay. I'll see you again, Emerald. You always come back. Wait, somebody left a message. Oh, wait. Okay, wait. What about the trucks? Oh dear, wait. No potatoes were harmed in the making of this video. Ready for chat, Laura. Oh god, yes. Yeah. Actually, like, Steampunk Act. If you are at all familiar, feel free to message me over Instagram since you have been this last week and some. Feel free to message me if you are familiar with various like Discord server bot things that people make to, like enhance the various servers. like if you know of any free ones right now that would be really helpful in automating things on the Discord. I've been kind of thinking that I kind of want to. I've been thinking a bit more this last week about like about in fact, I like mentioned one of the reasons over the Discord chat is that they're going to try to jack up my rent by 24%. Long story short, building was bought by a different leasing company, different landlord company, to make it short. But while standard rent increase is about an annual 3 to 5%, at least this year, so like late this year when my lease is due to renew. My lease is due to renew by the end of April. So, but yeah, like the new lease won't start until September. So they want to try and jack up my rent by 24%. I think just a hair under 24%. So something like 23.9% or some shit like that. So yeah, like especially during a public health crisis, that is obnoxious. I mean, yes, unlike a lot of people, I have a steady income. I'm disabled. I collect Social Security disability benefits as my primary income. So, but yeah, like, while that's good for me, meaning that I have a stable income, that, at the same time, at the current status, between my rent and all of my other bills, by the time all the rent and all the other bills are paid off, I have a little under $200 left to do various crap and stuff with. So, like, now when I say the rent and other bills, hold on, I've got a book. I have also loaded up the. What was? Oh, okay, never mind. Seriously, this gets to be a part of my day. Stay. 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 Okay. So, where was I going? Right. Ah, yes. ADHD life, wherein, like, you have an external brain that is a, like, arrangement of notebooks. Like, there's no other way to put it. Like, I know I'm not the only person I know who both has ADHD and has, like, a plethora of notebooks, each for, each to its own purpose, right? Each to its own purpose, right? So, in fact, I've not only got this, I've got, like, the classic date book where I've got, where I can get my week at a glance. Whereas this one keeps, more complex notes and all of that. So let's see. Currently, rent is $560. Internet bill. That's $20, and that is with the so that is an AT&T thing. I've got my internet through AT&T. I've got their low income package, but I took the option to boost speeds and have unlimited Wi-Fi data within my unit because of my radio show. So I kind of needed to boost the speed, and it's nice to have the unlimited data, just in case, it's like, say hypothetically, I'm looking at it because I've got it like trailed along the ceiling in the front room, the Ethernet cord. Like, say hypothetically that the Ethernet cord that goes from my my broadband modem, which is on top of one of my bookshelves in the front room, just because that uses a telephone line, so it had to be right there. There's exactly one phone jack in the whole apartment. Actually, it's two phone jacks, like one right on top of the other, right? And only one of them works though. Only one of them works. The other is purely decorative, I believe. So yeah, like broadband modem is on top of that bookshelf. Then the Ethernet cable squiddles all around the top of the ceiling and plugs into my laptop. In fact, the guy from AT&T who was the what's it called? What's he called? The electrician, whatever. I don't know. The guy who does the phone cable shit with AT&T. Yeah, when he came to run some testing on the lines and all of that, oh gosh, that was a day and a half. I had to like pull so much shit out from that wall for him to be here less than an hour, right? That was a fun day. I don't remember if I talked about it on the thing later that week or something, but yeah, it happened. In fact, I was telling him about my show and like why I was planning to get the like the speed booster plus unlimited Wi-Fi data on my low income plan. So instead of $10, it's $20. So it would normally be $10 a month, but like I said, because of WFKU, I kind of need it to be $20. I kind of need the $20 plan. So but yeah, like I did not, my Ethernet cord was not long enough. It had been damaged in a couple places, just from age. So like, the inner cable, the inner wires were kind of exposed, because if you've ever seen the inside of one of these, it's like at least half a dozen wires, coiled around together, and then it's like covered by a little protective tube. So that is like how an Ethernet cable looks inside. It does not look like your standard phone, landline phone jack cable, right? It is a different kind of cable, albeit uses the same old-fashioned phone jack technology. that has remained virtually unchanged for, I want to say, in the area of 75 years, at least. So where was I going with that? Yeah. So because my old Ethernet cable was not quite long enough, and I explained to him that just for, if only for the security, right? If only for the security during the live show on WFKU, I do need to have my laptop plugged into the Ethernet during the show. But like I said, I went with the not only for the speed boost, but just in case, for some reason, this Ethernet cable became damaged, right? Say it becomes damaged at some point, and I need to wait on a new, I think this is a 40-foot Ethernet cable running from the bookshelf to the laptop in the other room. So yeah, say hypothetically it becomes damaged somehow. Like, Nigel has decided that he's not finished by simply destroying the old external hard drive, which has about 2/3 a terabyte full of music, most of which did not upload properly to my OneDrive, wherein I barely have a terabyte plus of storage capacity. But that's another story for another time. But yeah, Nigel was very effective that day at being a cat. He managed to destroy a hard drive. It needs clean room recovery to get all of the data off of that. That is one of the reasons that I have been, that I have had, like, it all works out to less time overall hiatus, but, amongst myself and the other WFKU DJs who were, who at least all began, or not began, who were all like working, like had their own show on WFKU at the time I started. But yeah, like I've had more hiatus initiated since I began, but overall it's been less overall time that I've had on hiatus. So yeah, like the fact that Nigel managed to destroy a hard drive in the middle of my show, after which, and during the hard drive's destruction, that was like shortly after that. That is when I noticed that the music files that I had been trying to upload for 2 days to my OneDrive, after I started the OneDrive account. So like I spent 2 days trying to copy music there, only to find out after my precious boy Nigel, yes, you, Mr. Catbutt. Best X started calling him Mr. Catbutt and Nigel Butt, and because Best X is Best X, I agree with that nickname sometimes. Sometimes it's an affectionate nickname. Sometimes it's because you're a butthead. You're an 18.5-pound pantherhead butthead, and you know it. Yes, you do. But I love you. You're the love of my life, aren't you, boy? Yes, you are, my boy. He loves me. He loves me. He thinks we're married. Or at least this is the spooky house lore, right? Nigel thinks we're married. In fact, oh gosh, where was I going? Right. Oh, right. Bills. I'm trying not to get too off track there, but yeah, I was going on about my internet bill. Guasani, that's the electric, the DTE. That at least during the winter averages about $36 a month. It ends up about double that during the summer because of the air conditioner. And keep in mind, I only ever run the air conditioner on the economy setting, meaning that it is semi-randomized. It seems more random because, but basically, like the economy setting, at least on this unit, in my this AC unit in my apartment unit, yeah, it seems kind of random because I looked up like how this one works with the economy setting, and it's basically like same brand as the previous one. The previous one broke, was nobody's fault, not even the Romans. But yeah, like that. This AC that's in my apartment right now. I want to say that's only been here 3 years. Oh no, going on 4 years this summer, right? Because I remember, yeah, that was during my that was like during my up in bed after surgery. I mentioned that in a recent, I want to say WFKU stream, because I got out my Book of Love poster because I did a naughty during my prescribed healing time, and I did a naughty and I went out like against doctor's advice to see Book of Love perform live at the Necto downtown Ann Arbor. It was about 6, maybe 7 weeks. Oh, wait, no, not even. Hold on. Because if you really are trans, they're probably, depending on if you go to an actual somebody who just wants to help you out. Okay, Book of Love poster was like right on top of the other posters. So, yeah, no, it was about 5 weeks because I remember that 5.5 weeks because all of my major medical transitioning milestones are related to some kind of nerdy pseudo holiday, right? My chest surgery, not counting the first nipple revision, that was on a Friday the 13th. It was legit on a Friday the 13th, and yet I wonder why my nipples fell off. But if you can't laugh about it, right? So yeah, that was on Friday the 13th. While my first injection of testosterone HRT was 2 weeks prior, and that was dispensed by a nurse. The first one I did myself, which, like I said, was 2 weeks after the first one. So the first one I did myself under nurse's instructions, so I had to like go to the clinic to do it. That was the following October after this. When they're as big as your head, you need to do this first. Think about it. That makes a lot of sense, right? So yeah, the first one I did myself, it was this thigh too, and I remember that because I picked it out because it's my lucky thigh, because it's the one with the big giant Roz of Finland tattoo on it. And I say Roz of Finland because I love Jeff Zuck. He's an amazing tattooist. But he kind of like went with my original concept art for a Roz Williams tattoo, and he kind of Tom of Finlanded up, right? I don't think that was intentional of him. I don't think that was intentional of him. I tend to assume men are heterosexual until given evidence of otherwise. He might be bi, but this is like some serious Tom of Finland um, treatment. In fact, like the mutual friends he and I have all said that like he would very much appreciate a Tom of Finland treatment in fan art for a tattoo. But yeah, like I said, like I allowed Jeff to rework my concept art in his style, which is a little bit it's somewhere between like your classic Sailor Jerry style and graffiti art. It's kind of, I would describe Jeff Zuck's in fact, like for a while, I want to say it was like 2004 and 05, I would get a lot of people like messaging me on like MSN Messenger and AIM, AOL Instant Messenger, because they knew about a couple of my first three tattoos were all by Jeff Zuck, who's been based in Ann Arbor for, I want to say since 1998, 99, thereabouts. His shop used to be out on Church Street in Ann Arbor. That's where I got like the first three. This one was the fourth one that was done by his apprentice. But yeah, like for 2004, 05, I would get a lot of people like messaging me on AIM, asking about my Jeff Zuck tattoos. I'm just like, how that? Like, I didn't realize that he'd had at least the Roz of Finland one. I didn't realize like he'd put that up on his like one of his online portfolios. Like, I'm honored. Like, it is his art. He has a right to like at least post it up as Flash, as an example. So yeah, like it's his art. He has a right to like share it, and like I don't recall being asked about any of that, but about like contact information. But I know at the time I did have a live journal. I shared some photos, so yeah, like it probably was just like one of those things where like he knew about my live journal, linked it anyway. Like early Knott's internet culture was a lot more laid back than it is now, because it was just such a smaller social sphere compared to now. So yeah, like for the most part, people were chill about sharing stuff, without overtly asking permission. But where was I going? Right. Okay. Oh, right. I mentioned the thing and the thing. I don't know why I mentioned. Oh, right. Yeah, that's how I got to that. I went from electric bill to the AC and how that got replaced. I want to say around the fourth week after my that surgery. That one, right? So the AC was replaced around that surgery, like third or fourth week. I was just like, bleh, when the guy came up here to like put in the new AC unit, but still okay. That's how I got to talking about my tattoos, and so yeah, the Book of Love. So yeah, okay. So Friday the 13th. First self-injection of HRT was on Devil's Night, like the following Devil's Night from this. And Devil's Night, it's gotten a bit more, I guess, like, it started to spread outside the Metro Detroit area, but like that's originally a Metro Detroit thing. That it was like originally like exclusively a Metro Detroit thing. The reason it has been spreading a bit further than the Metro Detroit area is because of the film The Crow. In fact, there were a few scenes. I think a few scenes were filmed at Leland City Club in that. I'm pretty sure. because I know there's a couple buildings that are insanely familiar, but I can't place exactly where in Detroit. So yeah, not all of it, obviously. Like there's a lot that was just straight up studio work, but there's a few iconic buildings, and I'm pretty sure James O'Barr is originally from Detroit, or at least spent a lot of time living in Detroit. Because I know he was a bit more involved in at least the script to the first Crow movie. So yeah, like that is like local culture. That is local Detroit goth culture. Is that first Crow movie. A lot of people don't realize that it's set in Detroit, in part because like the fact that it is Detroit does not. It's not especially important to the story. So that's how a lot of people forget that it's set in Detroit. And because they forget it's set in Detroit, they don't realize that Devil's Night is part of the local culture of the Metro Detroit area, which includes, Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti, which includes Toledo, Ohio, in the same way that Gary, Indiana is part of the greater Chicagoland area. Think about it. It's true, especially if you're familiar with all four cities. At least as familiar as I am with all four cities. I have lived in all four cities at some point in my life. Fun fact, right? Fun fact you didn't even know you wanted to know until you knew it. That was a mouthful. So yeah, okay. First self-injection HRT, that was on Devil's Night, the following, the same year as this, which was on a Friday the 13th earlier that summer. So Friday the 13th, Devil's Night, then, oh, right. The date of my legal name change was 9/11. That's not especially a nerdy holiday, but it is like, like the date in the US has gained this sense of reverence that honestly at this point any sort of reverence it once had just doesn't exist anymore. We've come to know a lot more about what's been going on in the world since then, that like anybody who continues to revere September 11th 2001 with this high esteem is just, they are very out of touch, right? Kind of like D-Day, right? Kind of like D-Day. Like, who the hell, especially like and I'm even like on the butt end of Generation X, which is like, I would say like, the Xennials, Gen Y-ish, like, that I'm born in, that sort of micro generation, which, as implied is either like the butt end of Generation X or the very, the very beginnings of the millennial generation. Like I'm part of like the last generation where somebody's grandparents remembers D-Day, right? I'm amongst the last people alive in the US today whose grandparents remember D-Day. Okay, so like, like when you get significantly younger than that, it's like, oh, my great grandparents knew about that then, right? So yeah, like I said, like I feel safe in assuming that the whole American reverence towards September 11th, 9/11, because that was like what Giuliani like was using as his bid for Republican candidate back, I want to say 2008. Yeah, it was 08, right? Yeah. Yeah, I want to. Yeah, like any reverence September 11th once had that was comparable to D-Day, for the people who were about my age on September 11th, 2001, back in like during World War II. Any sort of reverence like left so much, like that ended so much sooner than it did for D-Day. In part just because of internet culture, right? It just, and plus like Gen Xers, which I kind of identify like more on the Gen X side just because my parents were about like in the area of about 10 years older than the parents of most people about my age. So I kind of grew up with this cultural lens that was about, 10 years earlier than that of most people of my age, like at least within the household. Like, my eldest half sister on my mother's side is about 12 and a half years my senior. She's significantly older than me, and like I was my mother's second one. And if you ask her, and if she were still alive to ask, I was the only one she actually planned for. Like she actually tried to get pregnant with me, right? Whereas like my eldest half sister was groupie spawned. Like you didn't care too much about prophylactics in that day and age, and if you did, like diaphragms, like like thinking on the woman's end, yeah, they have a larger they have a statistically higher failure rate than even condoms on their own, for a reason, right? It's like if you are able to insert, which was the like pretty much the only thing available to women at that time, other than like the pill, but you kind of had to jump through some hoops to get a prescription in a lot of states. Or maybe that was like a year or two after that sister was born. I don't know. My dad's eldest, and he was like a bit older um, than my than most parents about my sister on his side. So she's about 7 years older than me, right? So like I said, like I grew up with this cultural lens that's about 10 years earlier than that of most people about my age. I've got a friend who is exactly a month younger than me, and she um she has some of the Gen X cultural markers that I do, but um not quite half of them. So like, yeah, she feels kind of distanced from the average millennial, but from where she's from her perspective, she feels a bit more of a kinship with the older millennials, like so she'll just like straight up, call herself like millennial or Gen Y most of the time. She leans toward Gen Y, whereas I kind of like lean toward like young X, um, just because, like I said, like I grew up with like a cultural starting point in the household that was about 10 years older than that of most people my age. So, but yeah, my mother's eldest was groupie spawn because diaphragms had a high failure rate, and Frank Zappa apparently was not all that dedicated to prophylactics, at least not at that stage in his career. I was planned for. Younger sister was because of a combination of the rhythm method and pulling out. So, like, technically, pulling out is better than nothing. Like, it has a failure rate, like, only, like, maybe 2% high, like it has 2% higher failure rate than the diaphragm, right? So it is literally better than doing nothing to prevent an unplanned pregnancy. But it is the method, that when used consistently has a higher failure rate. Granted, rhythm method alone has the highest failure rate because most people just don't account for all of the variables in that, right? Plus like, most people who were my mother's age at the time she was her age, like, they don't have the most stable lifestyle, like including diet and exercise regimen and all that. Even though my mother probably did have slightly more stable than average, just because she was a classical musician. She was also a registered nurse, but she was also an ER nurse, which can be highly stressful, which can throw off some things hormonally at times. So yeah, like I said, younger sister who has also passed away, much like both of my older sisters. Yeah, younger sister was because my upbringing was Catholic, and so like their what's it called? Contraception was a combination of rhythm, method, and pulling out. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, technically it was better than doing nothing, but that's why I had a younger sister. And yeah, like, my mother did a number on me. I was like kind of like thinking to myself out loud before I started the stream that I will probably never achieve even half of what I would consider a successful career as a musician because of the weird complex my mother gave me about my entire life, right? So yeah, like even if you strange people who like to watch me just like ramble on and do jigsaw puzzles and DJ my show from what passes for my bedroom, like any of you can like work your damnedest to try and convince me that I am at least half as good as my personal standards for a successful musician, right? And God, there was a word I was looking for to describe this, which is how I got thinking out loud. Not obscure, but I have like such an oblique standard for what counts as being a successful musician. Like, I'm sure a lot of people would, measure, a combination of artistic influence plus mainstream financial success, like a combination of like being just formulaic enough to have broad mainstream appeal and being just innovative enough to have immense influence decades after your death. So ergo, like John Lennon would be considered a very successful musician by that relatively mainstream standard. Obscure is not the word I was looking for. Esoteric. Somebody in one of the Facebook groups that I kind of shitpost in. Granted, a lot of people in some of these groups just kind of shitpost at each other all day. Like that's the social dynamic of some of the LGBT Facebook groups I'm in. It's just like people shitposting back and forth at each other, which entertains me. But yeah, like she was telling me that like so many of my takes are just so damn esoteric in, like what the hell I'm talking about and like these analogies that I make. And I'm just like, hey, I'm entertaining myself. If I entertain at least one other person being this weird, then I've had a good day, right? I've had a good day. That has been my public health crisis goal. Like, if I like that has been my bare minimum for a good day. Have I entertained myself, and have I entertained at least one other person, whether it's like somebody at one of the stores where I'm going off to like run various errands, or was it somebody online because I haven't left the apartment in 3 days because I'm trying to be a responsible adult as far as like, the public health advice goes. It has been hell on my mental health, but then again, that's why I set the bar so low. Have I entertained myself, and have I entertained, or at least seem to have entertained, at least one other person? Because I'm a very extroverted person. Socially awkward, but like I am like a Jungian extrovert if you go by his standards. Like, I feel more energized and alive, just like out being a bit more of a social butterfly. I went on about this in this goddamn cursed to hell highlight reel from was my previous live stream with the, I think it was. No. It was 2 live streams ago. The one where I finished that puzzle, which I've put on the wall. I've put that on the wall. Let's see. Will this let me turn this thing around? Not that way. Oh, there we go. There's the one. Ah! No! Stop it! Okay, so there we go. There's the puzzle I finished 2 weeks ago. Let me hit up a filter thingy so that we can... Granted, like I said, there is a shit ton of soot in my unit right now because I was a dumbass who thought I would take a chance at using the old kerosene heater wick. And the result is my apartment is full of soot. That's why there's this haze all over everything right now. Like right now, this is not a filter. This is not a filter right now on my phone's camera. This is how much soot is all over my unit because I thought, hey, let me see exactly like how bad what's left of this wick is. Hold on, I want to watch this. Nigel, why do you have the remote? Hello, love of my life. Aussie. I love you. I love you so much. Oh. Yes, I know one of my faves is problematic. I know about the whole Channel Awesome fiasco of at least a couple years ago. I know about that. In fact, I am probably a bit closer to that than most of the people who have levied various criticism against Doug and Rob Walker because Best X, he works for the server farm that hosted thatguywiththeglasses.com for years and years and years. I think the Walker brothers may still be using that that hosting company, server farm, as the industry term, at least from what I understand from Best X. Industry people tend to say server farm, at least when you're on the tech end like he is. But where was I going? Right, yeah. So like I said, I know a little bit about how they conduct, like at least their business face. I know a little bit about their business face because Best X has like taken a tech support call from Doug Walker, I believe. Yeah, I think he said it was Doug. And that's like how I knew, like that's how I learned his name, because like from where I was sitting at that time, I want to say this was 2011, maybe 2012. No, it was late 2011. Maybe, yeah, no. Yeah, it was late 2011, but I'm gauging the timeline based on which cats were alive at that time, right? Like which cats I remember like, playing with and snuggling and petting and all of that at the time Best X came home from his day at work and said, "Oh, hey, I talked to Doug Walker at while he was doing a tech support call." And I asked him who that was, and he says, "Oh, that guy with the glasses, the nostalgia critic." So yeah, like I know at least the business face they put on to the web hosting company that they at least were working with about 10 years ago. I think they might still be with said hosting company, but that's another story for another time. I don't care enough to ask Best X if he can look that up. Like it's not some kind of confidentiality thing. Like it's web hosting, right? In fact, I could probably depending on which Earls they own, I'm sure I could figure out if they still use Best X's company he works for. But yeah, that would be like looking up a who is whatever, and which isn't necessarily the most reliable because that would just say like who a domain was registered to at what date and for how long, but whatever. Yeah, at least when I knew for a fact that they were working with the company Best X works for, they were like some of the like he's Best X said that that Doug Walker was literally the least frustrating tech support call he had in his first 3 years. That Best X was working at that company. The first 3 years. And the Walker brothers were the least frustrating tech support calls he has ever dealt with. And he has dealt with some seriously bonkers tech support calls. One tech support, I'm going like way off script. I was just like running down my thing. But like just to catch up, okay, so let's see. This month, just to like, my bills, Tradano Tranquilos, Methedi Gedai, Methig Indiathai, Microsa, Pamahulu, Pico, Ripo, Maki, Azon, Buita. Okay, so there's some of these that I can legit cancel and barely be affected. I love marquee TV, but it's not like, I watch maybe one opera a month. That is worth the $9 to me to watch one opera a month. Or a ballet, like I watch one opera and or ballet a month at least, or at least that's kind of how it's been since I've had them. That is worth $9 to me. Do I need to watch that one opera or ballet via marquee every month? Not especially. So I can cancel that and not really be affected. Probably same with BritBox, all things considered. I am watching the classic Doctor Who. Long story short, like when Doctor Who went back on the air, I want to say with, was it Doctor 7? Was it the 7th one? I don't remember. But yeah, like I started watching like during the last season and a half of the Tennant years, and I was getting really pissed off because I was watching I had the DVR set to automatically record not just new ones but reruns, and the reruns were being played out of order, and Comcrap at the time was not yet indicating which season and episode per season it was just running the year it first aired. So I was watching a lot of episodes out of order. I had no idea what was going on, and it was pissing me off, right? Because there were a lot of episodes where you had to watch something like 3 episodes before it, like the 3rd episode before the one you started watching at, to know what the hell was going on. At least that's like how I, felt when I first started watching, like in the middle of the last season and a half of the Tennant years. So, like I said, I had no idea what the hell was going on with half the reruns. I knew, I gathered from what's it called? The new episodes. I knew from the new episodes that I needed more information, which is why I started, which is why I checked that I also need to watch, I needed the Comcrap DVR to record reruns as well. But like they were being played out of order. Sometimes they just seemed very random. I had no idea what was going on. I was getting less of an idea of what was going on the more I watched, or at least that's how it felt at the time. And it was pissing me off. I had no idea what the hell was happening. Then the Matt Smith years started, at least the first one. I was kind of getting into it, which certainly it was not hurt by the fact that Matt Smith is goddamn delicious. He's goddamn delicious, right? He's he's just yummy. He's just yummy. I want to lick his goddamn face. I want to lick his face for hours. I would love that. Granted, um, I would only do this with explicit consent, but it's like Matt Smith is gorgeous. Like, I am not going to deny that David Tennant, it's David, right? Yeah, I'm not going to deny that Tennant is very classically attractive. He is very classically attractive. And I stress very because he very much is. I love that. He has a gorgeous face to look at. He has, you know, like a physique I tend to like. But Matt Smith is a little bit closer to my personal preferences. Like I said, I'm not at all saying that David Tennant is not as beautiful as he is. He is a beautiful goddamn man. He just is. Like, he just is. It just, like, this is just a fact of the universe, right? David Tennant is a beautiful man. But my personal preferences, my personal, like, ideal, Matt Smith is fucking yummy. Matt Smith is delicious. I could lick his face for hours, and consensually, of course, he's just gorgeous. He just is. He just is. This is just a fact. This is just a fact of my brain, right? So yeah, like, you know, after I watch enough Doctor Who that I'm generally content. Granted, it's not that much. It's not like a huge, like, you know, like BritBox is $7. I think like officially $6.99. And Marquee is officially $8.99. But it's like no, that's like $7 and $9, right? But it's like I can watch a bunch of those. I can watch a bunch of stuff. Like, those are two TV subscription services that I could find myself like canceling for a few months and like buying just like one more month, you know, to cancel after that month, and like periodically. Like, I can come and go from those very easily and not feel like it has affected whatever I want to do, right? I can cancel those two just fine. Paramount Plus, as it is, you know, now called, in theory, I could, well, I do have a digital antenna that I am going to get back out because I do like to watch Bob's Burgers live and communicate with people on Reddit. I currently cannot do that with my TV setup as it is right now. I don't have a live TV service at the moment. So I would need to get my digital antenna back out, suction cup it to the wall again. In fact, there's this one sweet spot on the wall that separates my bedroom out from the front room. Because, like I said, it's an efficiency unit. There's that floating wall that has no doors. There's a sweet spot about yay high, so like extent of my arm. Like, I don't even need to get the ladder out, but, you know, there's a sweet spot right there at like the thin part of that wall where, you know, like if this were a normal one bedroom, that's where a door would be, right? So the you know, the throughway that goes through there, that is a sweet spot for the digital antenna. I can definitely do that and watch my Bob's Burgers live and react with people on Reddit like I grew so fond of doing when I was still having Comcrap and paying out my ass for it. But yeah. So let's see. One of these subscription things is I've actually been thinking about closing my Artfire shop for a long time right now. This last year especially, I have just not been getting the orders to justify the cost this last year. I believe I can have up to 100 listings for free, and I was seriously considering of just like retiring from buttons at, like the little 1-inch pin backs that you get at the punk shows. I make those. I do make them for the station. So if you want to buy any WFKU merchandise, get yourself a packet of badges and tell Whiskey to order more from me. So, and I will get a commission when you do that. So, where's that? Or if not a proper commission, I will at least get another order of those. So yeah, like I really want to reduce how many buttons I'm doing, just because like they've always sold so much better at events, but I haven't been able to do events this last year, have I? Nobody's been able to do events. So yeah, like I said, they've always done so much better at events. At least, considering like how much work I put in versus like how much a payout is. They used to do reasonably well online, but then like people were like filing bogus copyright strikes against me on Etsy. I don't have the money to fight that shit. In fact, the one that Etsy told me was like the last one that was like the last copyright infringement, that was the one that got them to cancel my shop. I know for a fact that image was public domain. I know for a fact of this. Why? That is how fucking old it is. It's an old medieval etching. This image is at least 700 years old. But, in fact, I know the person who did it too. She's basically an elevated groupie who has a thumb up her ass and wants to claim copyright on this. And like I said, I don't have the money to fight it. I know for a fact that image is public domain. It is at least 700 fucking years old. But like I said, I don't have the money to fight that. I don't have the money to like find myself a goddamn lawyer. Especially like, like an arts management lawyer, right? I don't have that kind of money to like find myself a lawyer and go to Etsy and say, no, this image is public domain. Here's the proofs. This was a bogus claim filed by, like I said, like an elevated groupie. I know who this person is. She frustrates me so goddamn much every interaction I've had with her. And I just like, I'm like, nope, just like gonna just, in fact, she is doing, she is doing the artist she works with a whole lot of pain because like I said, because I don't want to deal with her when I get around to uploading, stuff on Mixcloud, which I've done occasionally since, the end of my most recent hiatus. When I get around to uploading stuff on Mixcloud, I don't want her coming for me, right? I don't want her coming for me and insisting that I am making some kind of money, even though like the way Mixcloud is set up, it's like, no, they've got some kind of like radio licensing deal that will send royalty checks to the respective artists or whatever conglomerate currently holds a copyright. And I'm talking about like when I play Lee Morse, like 15 cents a song is going to Columbia Records. Just it's going to some suit at Columbia Records every time I play a Lee Morse song. Like even like, I can play Mood Indigo, which she fucking wrote because she had no surviving children, she had no next of kin, to collect this, so like when she died of, like, I think it was cirrhosis of the liver in like the late 50s. So like, yeah. So it's like some suit at Columbia Records is now getting like, like 14 cents, whatever, every time I play a Lee Morse song that was recorded in like 1935, right? If not 1926, which is like before the whole copyright. Like in theory, if it was recorded in 1926 or earlier, it is within the public domain. I know this because of Un Chemin de Loup, the movie I did that soundtrack for, that beautiful goddamn like stream of conscious. This is like one of my magnum opus. Like I consider this my magnum opus. Like I can write a song that resonates more with people than anything the Beatles ever wrote, and I would still consider music for Un Chemin de Loup my magnum opus with my friend Jason. That is, I love that. But like I said, there are two cuts of that film. One is in the public domain. That is the silent cut, when Louis Buñuel basically did a remaster in, I want to say 1935. He did a remaster with music. He did a remaster that overlaid the Tristan and Isolde Wagner selections in line with the vignettes of that film. But like I said, I used the silent cut to upload to YouTube. The silent cut is in the public domain. But because of YouTube's algorithms and all that, and it's like little like AI to recognize stuff, it sees the images of Un Chemin de Loup. It assumes that this is the... Has someone got a hairball? Someone got a hairball? Sounds like an especially nasty one. Oh, yep, that was Murnau. Oh, Murnau upchucked a hairball baby. Oh, Murnau had a hairball baby. Nothing too alarming. He's floofy. It happens. He also took his collar off. So that's why, like, Phoebe's been kind of annoyed with him this last couple of days, because he took his collar off so she does not have the warning bell when he's coming. I have found his collar since he took it off somehow. And I'm going to put it back on him just because Phoebe likes to have the warning bell. LOL, my cat just did a projectile hairball 15 minutes. Oh gosh, right. I love these casual streams. LOL. Thanks. Well, I'm glad you enjoy it. I'm glad you enjoy listening to me ramble on, even though I'm not doing a puzzle right now. Gosh. You know what? Fuck it. What time is it? About then. That's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah. I might do the first part of that, but I was going on about something. Oh, right. I was going on about Artfire. So yeah, like I would have no issue canceling like my Artfire shop and like reverting back to free mode. Please come back here, you. I need you for things. You help me with the little symbol things that like even I forget the if you watch the How to ADHD channel, oh gosh. In fact, like somebody recently like hit like on that comment I made where she says something about how like, you write out your own like little code for all the symbols and colors in your notebooks, and then you immediately forget them. And so I commented, like, first I quote that part, and then I respond with like my own line saying, I am feeling personally attacked by this line. And I think it's got 7 likes on it to date, but that's okay, right? It's like that is definitely a thing. That is definitely a thing. We are scatterbrained as all shit. And that is why she does like her videos like under 10 minutes, because I'm sure she's one of those people that, much like me, leave her to her own devices. She can go on for hours like I do. But yeah, where was I going with this? Right. Okay, so yeah, like I've been thinking of just like downgrading my Artfire shop for a while now. This because I kind of want to get away from the buttons. I want to just like have I want to put my paintings up. I want to do more with my jewelry. I will still be doing buttons. They just won't be my focus anymore, right? And I will sell buttons in like big like at least like the first at least for a while I'm going to be doing like just like try and liquidate my stock, or at least what of it is like still usable. And because things will rust in storage. They will seriously rust in storage. possibly in part because of like the way that I sort them out, might collect moisture. But I can't afford any better system, right? I cannot afford a better system to do this. So it's like, so I'm like, well, if they rust in storage, so be it. I will do whatever I can to, like, you know, if somebody orders one and like everything has like rusted in storage because they were the first person to, like, you know, like want a Mari Wilson and Tot Taylor and Compact Organization button in the last 5 years. Somebody did that. I'm like, oh my gosh, people who love Tot Taylor and Verna Lint as much as I do. Where was I going? Right. So yeah, I want to liquidate a lot of stock with grab bags of buttons. In fact, you know what? I should do that with Patreon. And like, if you want to do like $10 a month via Patreon, I can just like send you a grab bag of buttons after the first cycle goes through. So patreon.com // right? Yes. Ruadhán, Ruadhan. And yeah, at the $10 a month, I can justify the expense of shipping them without, you know, like free. So yeah, if you want to do that, by all means, please take these buttons out of my home. I'm like I said, they've always done better at events. I would like to go back to a point where I was just taking them to events and like maybe once a month or something at the local club, you know, or whatever. I would like to go back to that because that's how I was doing it for a while. And then for a while it was kind of lucrative to have them online. And then everybody's all about the enamel pins right now. And so like the little 1-inch buttons that I do, it's like, well, it's not an enamel pin. I'm like, but I have lost more enamel pins than I have the 1-inch pin back buttons because of, you know, just like, you know, it's like one tack that is like being held on with a sometimes very flimsy little catcher on the back versus something that loops through the fabric and then latches on, right? But yeah. So yeah, like everybody's been all about the enamel pins this last some years. So the buttons, plus, like I said, I got kicked off of Etsy because of an elevated groupie who has managed to get, you know, the artist she works for on my personal no playlist just because I don't want to have to deal with her coming for me over Mixcloud. I'm like, I don't want to deal with her. That is how bad I don't want to deal with her. One of the more influential, like, I don't even list this artist under my primary influences on Bandcamp anymore because I don't want to deal with this woman. That is how bad she is. I wish he understood, like, how bad she is for his career, because I'm not the only person who has had similar experiences. I am definitely not. And yes, he is remaining unnamed because I don't want to deal with this woman. I really don't. I don't know a single person who has dealt with her who enjoyed dealing with her. But I don't want to deal with her so much that, like I said, she's landed this man on my no playlist, on my personal no playlist, because I don't want her like messaging me over Mixcloud because of, you know, this thing she's imagined in her head about whatever, right? And like I said, like the straw that broke the camel's back for me in how badly I don't want to deal with her, it actually wasn't even, you know, that bogus copyright claim she made on me over Etsy. Like, he had not yet landed on my no playlist. Like, I will only play his music at clubs. I will only play his music now if I'm being hired out for a nightclub, you know, guest spot, because she can't come for me that way, right? She can't come for me that way. Well, unless I publish the playlist online. But yeah, it's like, you know, I am less likely to do that when I'm DJing, like, I just kind of like let my show be my primary thing, like as far as DJ stuff, like for Mixcloud and all that. But it's like, I don't want her coming for me. I don't want her coming for me. Like, even though I know it's going to be even though I know like whatever she's going to accuse me of doing is going to be completely bogus and imagined in her own fucking head. But at the same time, she's just such a fucking headache to deal with. She is such a fucking headache to deal with. And like I said, I'm not even going to name this musician because I don't want her, like, I don't know. I don't want her like somehow finding this stream because, the YouTube AI and algorithms and all that, picked up the fact that I had said his name at some point during this stream, meaning that she is going to find a reason to like come leave nasty comments at me because, well, I mean, to be fair, with as much anti-hype as I've said about her in this last hour alone, I would expect some nasty comments from her. I would expect it. I wouldn't be offended. That would be at least a reason to leave a nasty comment back at me. But like I said, I don't want to deal with her. I don't know a single person who has dealt with her who wants to deal with her again. But some of them have to because, they are, like working on collaboration or they are just whatever, right? Like, or like, like old events, when those were still a thing that happened. Like I said, like, I don't know a single person who has dealt with her who wants to deal with her again, even though some of them have to, right? Like, but for whatever reason, like, she's still like I said, she's an elevated groupie. She's an elevated groupie because, she does legitimately work with whatever, him. Like I said, like, he's been so influential on my own music that I used to have him listed under my Bandcamp influences for years, but I removed his name because I don't want to deal with her. I don't want to deal with her. So I'm like, like, she's undoing some of his legacy by doing this. Like, I'm barely even counting myself. I am barely counting myself as part of that, because he's been greatly influential. But I'm pretty sure there's at least a couple other people who, similarly to myself, just don't want to deal with her. So they quietly, like, take his name off their list of influences and influential singles and all that because they don't want to deal with her. It's like, I know I've repeated myself so many times about that, but that is like how, that is the impression that she leaves on people. Like, oh my gosh, I have left r/goth Reddit comments, just like comments on a thread about music and influential musicians and all that, where I once upon a time, like, I'm not saying this for no reason. I am not being hyperbolic when I say that even a mention of him as an influence on my own musical style will be inviting her drama, because it has literally happened before. It has literally happened to me before that, like, somebody on r/goth on Reddit just, like, started a thread about, like, hey, who are some of your favorite, what's some of your favorite goth songs that, I don't know, just like as a random example from, like, who are like regulars at the Batcave, right? Like, what are some of your favorite songs from musicians who were regulars at the Batcave? Just random example. And I would include his music in this. And like, the last time she did this over Reddit, it was legit 10 months after that comment that I made. that included one of his songs. I included one of his songs in a comment. It was an overall neutral comment. 10 months later, she is sending me a private message over Reddit demanding an explanation. She's literally demanding an explanation for why I included a song of his in my favorite music from that period. I am not being hyperbolic. I'm just like, that like, she seriously came for me, like demanding an explanation. And my explanation was literally, fuck you, lady. This doesn't involve you. And I think I put her on like mute or block or whatever on Reddit after that. It was like the second or third similar enough comment. And like I said, this was 10 months after I made that comment. So of course, like, r/goth is one of the subs on Reddit where they will they'll like close off discussion. It's like it automatically closes off discussion on a thread that has not had activity in 6 months, or maybe it's a thread that started 6 months prior. But you know, it will automatically lock threads from new comments after about 6 months based on one criteria or another. So yeah, like it was legit 10 months after the fact. So a good 4 months since she was able to leave a comment directly at me, you know, like directly in response to said comment of mine. So instead she sends a PM like demanding an explanation for why I listed one of his, you know, for one of his band songs in my list of favorite songs from that period. I am not being the least bit hyperbolic. That is how insane she is. That is, like, I really am surprised that she has not done more overt harm to his career than, or at least it does not seem quite that evident from from like the perspective of someone like myself, who has been to some extent involved in like not only the goth culture but the live music scene in some capacity, in like my years like having worked at clubs, being a performing artist myself, being a DJ. So it's like, you know, like if you have a background in not just the goth subculture but also the goth subculture's live music scene, like I'm actually surprised that I have not heard via the grapevine that, you know, like she has like done enough harm to his reputation amongst like people who, you know, like run events and venues and all that, because, you know, or maybe there's just a lot of people who are far more patient than I am, but like I said, like I know I'm not the only person who has just like stopped even talking about him and like talking about like how important and formative his music has been on their own music, or even like their own collection of records, like, right? I know for a fact I'm not the only person who has at least publicly removed all reference to this musician just because they don't want to deal with his exalted groupie, who is a madwoman. And I mean that in the very British sense that, you know, like when I'm binging on Are You Being Served reruns on BritBox or something, like she is a madwoman. She is like Hyacinth Bucket turned up to 13, which is Keeping Up Appearances, not Are You Being Served. I know my I know my 80s Britcoms. Trust me, I grew up on them. Yes, I am American. This is indeed an American accent. It is a mid-Atlantic accent. It is an affected accent, similar to that of like Vincent Price, Katharine Hepburn, Eartha Kitt, Vincent Price. God damn, that man was gorgeous. And apparently bisexual, according to his daughter anyway. Yeah, that was apparently one of those open secrets amongst, his social circles and professional circles in the film industry at the time. But yeah, fucking gorgeous. One of the few men with facial hair I would be willing to boink if at all given the opportunity. Granted, it would need a time machine because I definitely don't want to bonk him in his current state, which is worm food. But yeah, give me a time machine. And the reason I have an aversion to facial hair is because when I first moved back to Ipsy, I had some serious mutton chops. I don't have makeup crayon right now, so will the China marker apply to skin? Vaguely. A little bit. So I had mutton chops, like, out to here, right? On both sides, right? Like, nice, like, very slightly bushy, not as much as, like, like, we're not talking, like, Brian Jones, Rolling Stones level of mighty-ass mutton chops. But I rocked them. I rocked them for a while. And then there's that gorgeous antique 1924 ball gown that I've got, and I was I actually bought that like maybe 2 weeks after the modeling shoot. I was kind of like hired to for a vintage shop in the area. So yeah, like I was hired for a modeling gig for that. Like just stupid modeling, like small time modeling gig for a local business Instagram. And so do some more appropriate like 1920s realness drag. I shaved off the mutton chops and did authentic daily authentic evening wear 1920s makeup, which a lot of people look to silent films for 1920s inspired makeup looks. You don't want to look to silent films for something authentic to that period, because silent film makeup is based on theatrical makeup. You're going to have looks that are highly exaggerated, in many ways. If only to work around the medium of black and white film at the time. So, like I said, silent film makeup is based on theatrical makeup. It's not authentic to the period. You want to go to magazines and little ladies etiquette manuals and all that for authentic makeup. So yeah, I shaved off my mutton chops for the modeling gig, and I've kept them shaved off since, because on this side, I had a slight bit of a fistula up here for a long time. I think it might have finally closed up. But yeah, and I refer to it as a fistula, even though it's on my face, on the flat surface of my face, rather than the fistula that heals around a piercing that goes right through something. But yeah, I refer to it as that because a fistula is just basically skin that has healed to form a hole. That's what it means. That's what it means. So like I said, you hear that term in piercing a lot, that you want to get a nice tough fistula before you consider your piercing fully healed. So but yeah, like I said, the basic definition of a fistula is skin that has healed to form a hole. There was that, oh shit, name is on the tip of my tongue. His name is on the tip of my tongue, and I'm brain farting. I can't get it out. But he's the guy. The doctor did these bizarre ass experiments on him to study digestion, because for some reason he had an injury to his belly that formed a fistula for some reason. We're still not certain how his fistula healed in this specific way, but it healed it healed almost like you could watch him digest food with little effort, right? there's probably like a glass tube that was inserted at some point around the fistula that had already healed. Shit, what's his name? I've got several biographical videos about him loaded in my YouTube playlist titled Song Ideas. I sometimes come back to noodling around with, but I don't think, like, his name is not a convenient one to put into lyrics. So like going to my song idea notebook will do me no good. Shit. I think it was in Canada. I think it was Canadian. Either Canadian or like mountain range US, but like northern mountain range, like north of the Rockies. Or he was Canadian. Shit. What the fuck? Name is on the tip of my tongue. The photographs of his face that, survive are burned into my brain. But yeah, he's the guy. Like, this is another, like, famous fistula case, where he has the wound to his belly, like, healed in a way that it was very easy for this doctor who just, like, kind of kept him as, like, a bit of a prisoner at the clinic for years. He escaped a couple times but came back because of the way that his, fistula just, like, it didn't close. It never really closed. So, like, he would leave a few times, like, in secret, but would eventually end up coming back around to the doctor, just because of, like, issues he was having, because, you could see, like, into his stomach as food was digesting. So that's why the doctor in question, I want to say the doctor had a French surname. Oh, good evening, Juju. You are, Megan Rockwell says it's pronounced bouquet. Yeah, I was saying, oh God, I did call her Hyacinth Bucket, didn't I? God damn, I am just, like, so, shit. What is it Evan? Ethan? Her neighbor. Fuck, I am brain farting on. The actress is John Inman's cousin, and I want to say, like, they're either very close cousins, or or their family is from a town where a lot of people have not moved in and out of the area for generations, because they have a bit of a case of same face, Inman and her. Shit. Oh, yeah, Elizabeth is the neighbor, but her brother, the character of Elizabeth's brother. Shit, I am just like, I kind of relate. I relate so much to that character. Evan? Is it Evan? God damn, I'm brain farting. But yeah. Hyacinth Bucket. The bucket woman, right? I just all right. Oh yeah, because I was talking about that goddamn crazed, elevated groupie who nobody wants to deal with. But some people are in a position where they kind of have to, or, they or they, don't get to work with that musician anymore. But so yeah, nobody wants to deal with her. It's pronounced bouquet. I know. But yeah, like, I am in the world as, like, everybody else in their town. I'm in the world of everybody else in that town, where, like, to her face, I would, stop short and say bouquet. But then she turns around and, like, walks 5 feet away, and I'm like, oh God, I can't stand that bucket woman, right? Like, that is oh gosh, I love that show. But that crazed fucking exalted groupie, she is like Hyacinth. She's Hyacinth Bouquet turned up to 13. She is fucking like Spinal Tap turns it up to 11, but this is the goth scene. You got to turn it up to 13, right? But yeah, like I said, she is like gotten this wonderfully influential musician on my own personal no playlist, or at least not on the radio. Probably a few other people's as well, just because they don't want to deal with her, like, after uploading it to Mixcloud or whatever. And just to catch Juju up to speed, like, I am not being hyperbolic when I refer to that goddamn lady. And just, oh gosh, if you want to, like, if Juju wants to go and watch this in archive in about another hour or something when I end it, I go on for like almost 10 minutes straight, right? Maybe 5 minutes straight. I don't know. It probably felt longer to some people. Just like repeating, like, I don't want to deal with her. I don't want to deal with her. Nobody wants to deal with her. I especially don't want to deal with her. Like I said, it's like 5 minutes straight. It's like, that's how bad she breaks people's brains. Like, you can even like mention this musician that, she has somehow come to work very closely with in the last some years. Probably will. I gotta get one of those little mini greenhouses for my balcony. But yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Like, I started going on about like the, all right. Yeah. So the rent for my apartment, as I began like an hour and a half ago, the rent for my apartment, as it's been bought by a new landlord, because that's why I brought out the notebook with my budget. So yeah, after everything is accounted for, because that's how I got on about Are You Being Served? Well, initially how I got on about Are You Being Served and keeping up appearances, because I was going through, like, some current expenses that I can sacrifice if necessary. Like I can easily cancel BritBox and Marquee, because BritBox, I can easily come back, like, maybe a couple times a year, pay the, $6-7, whatever, at a time, like I said, like maybe 2-3 times a year max, and just like binge on stuff for a month, cancel the subscription, come back some months later. That won't, like, break my sanity. The Hulu is currently as high as it is because it's on a bundle with Disney Plus, which worked out being like only $1 more than getting the two of them separately. Or no, it was $1 less than getting them separately. Why would I get one in a bundle that makes it slightly more expensive? But yeah, like, I also when John Oliver is doing new episodes of Last Week Tonight, I add HBO back onto my Hulu package. And then I temporarily cancel HBO when he's on breaks, because that is the main reason I want to watch HBO. That is somehow worth an extra $10 a month on Hulu to me, is watching John Oliver. He is a yummy man, as well as Matt Smith. I find Matt Smith a bit yummier, but I still find John Oliver quite yummy. And unlike many, gay and woman Americans, I am not instantly turned on by a UK accent, because, well, first off, I lived there periodically when I was in junior high and high school, so it's just kind of a thing to me, right? I also pick up a more overtly UK accent very easily. Like, this has been noticed at a couple of the convergences I've been to, where what's it called? Like the the other people who will be there, like if they came from the UK and I'm in there talking to them, I'll revert, like I will pick up accent after like maybe 10 minutes in conversation with a group that includes even maybe two, like maybe shit. I know one time it was like just the one person in a little group convo of like 4 or 5 people in addition to myself. So it's like, it was just like one other person with a UK accent. And, I went from my typical Detroit accent, which comes and go. Like, there are sometimes days where I'll do like completely mid-Atlantic. And then there are days where I'm just like completely like, the Metro Detroit I was born and raised in, which is a very distinct form of a Midwestern accent. It's got New Englandish qualities. It's got not like Appalachian, but I'm talking like Pennsylvania, West Virginia foothills, like Ohio, Tennessee kind of qualities to it, or at least southern part of Ohio, like when it gets closer to Appalachia. But it's also got a lot of it's also very easy to pass off as like a Southern Ontario accent is Detroit, because I mean, you don't go like full a boot like my friend Susie does. And there's like random interjections of a. She does. It's kind of adorable. Like I pointed this out to her like the first time she came to visit me from. She's from the Guelph area, which Guelph is to Toronto as Ann Arbor Ypsilanti is to Detroit, except Guelph has a more functional public transportation system. And by that, I mean, it is a bit of a satellite, to the metro area city. It's a bit of a satellite city relative to the metro area. So it's like kind of just off in its own little cultural bit, but it's also close enough to the large city that, depending on who you ask, it is part of the metro area. And then they've got a major university. University of Ontario is based in Guelph. I know UO that stood out to Scott because when he was studying when he was in university studying biology, and he was like going to Usenet to find some papers to like to like reference for his own works. He found a lot of he was doing something. I forget exactly what branch of biology he was focusing on. I know he was hoping to do his grad school as a microbiologist, but yeah, he discovered like even back in like the early Usenet days of like 1991-ish, there were a lot of studies at UO Guelph that focused on lampreys, and this was somehow relevant to the one of his biology classes that he was majoring in. So so yeah, like that's why University of Ontario really stood out to Best X, was because of like there's apparently a lot of lamprey studies that were published from them in the early 90s. So yeah. But yeah, like Detroit accent, it's a lot of, of course, like people from the Metro Detroit area, say it's like, I don't have an accent, but like there is a bit of a Detroit accent. Sometimes I'll just go straight up ghetto Detroit too, and I say that in the most lovingly way, but you really got to piss me off first before I go down that way. Much like how Angela Benedict has said in her own live streams that she'll just like go like straight out Long Island accent, which is her natural accent. She has a version of the Mid-Atlantic accent. It's a lot more subtle than mine is, but then again, like I said, I'm my primary influences for adopting Mid-Atlantic include, like Eartha Kitt and Katharine Hepburn and Vincent Price, who was the only bearded. Oh, right! I got sidetracked from that. So, okay, yeah, because I was talking about the guy with the fistula in the stomach. So yeah, I had a fistula. I think it finally closed up a couple of years ago. I noticed that it wasn't there anymore. I don't know if anybody can see there. I definitely can't see from my position, but I had a fistula. I had a fistula here after I shaved off my sideburns, but that didn't happen until like maybe a week or so after I shaved off my sideburns. Want to know what happened then? God, they were so much lower than sideburns. Like sideburns would end here. I had straight up mutton chops where did my China marker go? There it goes. I drew it on earlier. So yeah, because my moisturizer will help me pick up the grease pencil on here. So like I had mutton chops straight up there until I had a modeling job for a 1920s ball gown. I still have this. It is in a protective garment bag with a significant number of mothballs to oh, believe me, when Worst X brought his bed bugs in here, I made sure that that gown would be protected because, well, first off, I spent way more money on that than to let it become infested with anything. Secondly, I love that gown. I have an intense relationship with that gown. Like, if you've been on the Discord this last week, I have very animist beliefs, which I will get to in a bit, because this all started when I was talking about how my rent is being jacked up. So, where was I going with this? Oh, right, yeah. So I had a fistula here, but it didn't actually, become a fistula until maybe at least a good week after that photo shoot, right? So in that photo shoot, that might look, or wait, or did she get me from this side? I think her photos, at least the ones that ended up on the Instagram, were mostly on this side. I don't remember. But if there was any on this side, that probably looked like a mole. Why did it look like a mole? It was a massive fucking blackhead. It was about, and I'm probably being hyperbolic when I say it was about half the size, but it definitely was the same shape and color, but it was still massive. If you scroll far back enough on my Instagram, you will find a picture of this after I finally worked it out. It was a massive blackhead, and I shower near daily. That photo shoot was early enough in the summer that I was definitely showered daily, right? I shower near daily. I have a very thorough skincare regimen. At the time, when I still had my mutton chops, I had a painstaking grooming regimen for them. My mutton chops were gorgeous. Like I'd have them like nicely waxed after, like, I get out of the shower with my face cleansed, and then I do my toner, my eye cream, which is now vitamin E oil with a little bit of chamomile for the dark eye circles that I've got. It's a genetic thing when people have that. It's due to blood capillaries being especially close to the skin surface. The fairer you are, the more pronounced they can look. But a little bit of chamomile essential oil mixed with, I want to say I usually go about 5 drops Roman chamomile per 5 drops Roman chamomile per 1/4 ounce vitamin E, and a little bit of angelica root to I forget any alleged medicinal qualities that's supposed to have, but I definitely like the fragrance. I definitely like the fragrance. But yeah, like a little bit of chamomile can help it look a little better. Try Florida water. I have not tried Florida water. I do mix my toner with I do mix my own toner with rose water concentrate and witch hazel. But so yeah, my skincare regimen. Wait, is that okay? No, that is. Oh, never mind. That's the duct tape on the ceiling that's holding up the Ethernet cables, because I ran out of. Okay, so about there is where the little command hooks just decided they were not going to stick to the ceiling anymore. So I grabbed duct tape, and then after the second piece of duct tape, I realized I hated the look of the duct tape up there, but I was in a hurry to get it done because so I didn't take it back off. So I didn't take it back off after I got the little tiny nails to like make my own little suspension things on there. I should take the duct tape off, especially like right now it's fucking with me. But yeah, I'm gonna adjust the viewfinder a little bit. Please, can't I get that thing off? There we go. Okay, so yeah, talking about that massive blackhead that was under my mutton chops that caused a fistula around here. I don't know if it's visible from the camera. I know, but then again, I'm about half blind even with glasses, so I definitely can't see it anymore when I look in a mirror, you know, or like a nice little arrangement of mirrors to see if I can still see it. But yeah, so I shaved. At first I was like, because I had had mutton chops for a good 4, maybe 5 years at the time I shaved them off. So yeah, like I said, I would do my, you know, wash my face, including around the facial hair, because that's still part of your face. I do the cleansing in the shower, get out of the shower, toner, eye treatment, moisturizer, and then I would, you know, I had myself, I would use like one of the eyebrow and lash combs and comb out my mutton chops, trim, you know, trim any flyaway hairs and shape them. I'd usually take to the shaping about on a weekly routine. And so, like I said, like after I get out of the shower, facial regimen, I would then comb, trim if necessary, and wax my chops into shape. So, and like I said, I shower daily, meaning I wash my face and do my skincare regimen daily. I shampoo weekly, twice weekly due to my psoriasis, but that's another story for another time. So, like, at first I was trying to remember, wait, did I have a mole here? No, this doesn't feel like a mole. Why does it not feel like a mole? And I was like kind of picking at this, and I'm like, is this a scab? This almost feels like a scab. It almost looks like a scab. Where did I cut myself? But when I finally worked it out, which was like a week and a half after the photo shoot, which was the day after I shaved my chops off. No, the same day I'd shaved my chops off. Yeah, it was just later in the day. I worked out a blackhead that was the same shape and color, possibly as much as a quarter size of a corn nut, as in one of those little fried crispy corn snacks, because I see them called other things, like by other brand names when like Whole Foods and all that wants to do their own version in like the bulk snacks or whatever. So yes, it was the same shape and color, possibly as much as a literal 25% of the size of your average corn nut. It was a massive blackhead right up here that was under my goddamn mutton chops for who knows how fucking long of that 4 years I had my chops. 4, maybe 5 years I had my chops. I had gorgeous chops. I loved my chops. I truly did. But after I discovered the corn nut hiding in my face underneath them, I cannot even make out with another guy who has facial hair anymore. I can't do it. I can't bring myself to do it because I know what nastiness can lurk under there, even if you have a religious amount of skincare involved in the grooming of your face, including facial hair. I know what nastiness can lurk under facial hair. I can't do it anymore. It is an automatic turnoff 98% of the time now. That other 2% is reserved for people like Vincent Price, maybe Johnny Depp on a good day. I can't do it. I can't even be with another guy with facial hair anymore because the thought of what nastiness is lurking underneath the chops or the mustache or the beard. Like I said, I know like how religious I was to my own facial care, my own like skin care, including facial hair care, regimen, showering near daily, doing like full toner. I would even apply toner like over the chops. Wouldn't really go with the moisturizer there just because like I knew that could like do some buildup that would be harder to you know, for some reason I was convinced that if I like put like the moisturizer lotion over the facial hair after the toner, that it could cause like a little bit more buildup. Probably because I know that like when I was using a psoriasis cream rather than a serum for the big patch that is like constantly at the back of my head, it gets really greasy and nasty. You can't always wash it out the first go after you shampoo under that. So yeah, like I was just like, yeah, you know, I can do the toner and then like, you know, comb. I had a nice little like facial hair pomade that I would apply at around the ends of the hairs so that I could shape it after, you know, like, and then like do the comb over for the more accurate shaping. I loved my chops. My chops were gorgeous. I especially loved my chops with this long flowing hair, you know, and my whole little like, you know, shirt, you know, like with a lace shawl over it. I loved the androgyny of that kind of like very intentional blending of masculine and feminine facial features, right? I loved that androgyny. I loved it. I loved my chops. But like I said, I had a practically religious skincare and facial hair care regimen, and yet there was still a goddamn corn nut of a blackhead in my skin, under my chops. I can't do it anymore. Not just on myself. Not only can I not keep facial hair of my own anymore, I cannot personally, like there are guys who I would otherwise find very attractive. In fact, one case is a friend of mine. I have seen him with a clean-shaven face. He is gorgeous with a clean-shaven face. While he is still quite attractive with facial hair that he was at least sporting for a while a couple of years ago, while I admit he is still a very attractive man, I am not personally attracted to him with facial hair. Him with facial hair, it kills the wood for me. It kills my wood because I know what can be under there. Because I know it from myself, and I know that I know, like, I was religious about skincare. I still am quite religious about my skincare. And yet I still had a corn nut in my face under my chops. I may still have a barely visible fistula from having worked out that corn nut for about a week and a half. Like, trying to remember, what the hell, like, is this a scab that I'm playing with this whole like 10 days or whatever? Like, is this a scab? Is this a mole? What the hell is going on here? I legit was not sure until I was able to get it all out. Like I said, you scroll back far enough on my Instagram. You want to scroll back to around like 2014, 2015-ish. You will see a picture of the corn nut that was in my face. Why did I put that on Instagram? To warn people about the dangers of facial hair. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Like, no, I can't do it anymore. I really can't. Like, I would love to find my aforementioned friend just as attractive with the Van Dyke he had for a while in 2019. I would love to find him just as attractive with that as I did when he is clean shaven. But no, that kills it. It's like, I can admit that it is a very attractive look on him, but I am not personally attracted to it because I know what facial hair can hide, even with near perfect skincare practice. I know what it can hide. I know what it can hide, and it does nothing for me. It does nothing for me. It does less than nothing for me. It anti-attracts me. I am anti-attracted to it. It's just like it turns the outside pee-pee into an inside pee-pee. It just no, can't do it. Cannot do it. It is not a thing that I can ever bring myself, with very rare exceptions, one of whom is Vincent Price. Why? Because the man is goddamn Vincent Price. The man is so intricately connected in American and British associations with Edgar Allan Poe. Like, the man worked magic with the works of Poe. He absolutely did. Basil Rathbone tried to be as Edgar Allan Poe as Vincent Price, and he could not. He did some respectable readings of Edgar Allan Poe, but he was no Vincent Price. Right? It's like, no. Vincent Price is thinking about the way his face is structured and how he kept his facial hair relative to the surviving portraits of Edgar Allan Poe. It's like, oh my gosh. Okay, so I once watched this A&E biography episode on Johnny Depp. And so if you've seen that series of theirs, A&E biographies, and it'll do a different person per each episode. Some people they've split up into 2 episodes because they were just that interesting. But yeah, there was an episode on Johnny Depp. I think it was maybe a 90-minute long one. So it was a little bit longer, but not quite worthy of a 2-parter. Usually they keep it to about an hour long with commercials. So yeah, the Johnny Depp episode had a lot of had a lot of interview segments with Tim Burton. And Tim Burton said, when you go and look at a lot of the golden age directors of the 30s, 40s, 50s, a lot of them had this one favorite leading man that they loved to work with. And it is his personal interpretation, being a director himself, as Tim Burton himself is a director, of course, that his personal theory for why you see this a lot with the golden age of Hollywood period is that the director will see his kind of feels like his favorite leading man is a more attractive version of himself. So a more attractive version of the director, right? And it's I can kind of see that for how Vincent Price can work Edgar Allan Poe's works so perfectly. He's kind of a more attractive version of Edgar Allan Poe. Look at how he kept his facial hair, and then look at the old pictures of Edgar Allan Poe, and how he kept his own facial hair. It's not a perfect replication, of course. He did his own version of it, but it seems very he's trying to intentionally bring to mind that sort of that late Victorian eccentric from partially disgraced old money sort of family, right? And I got going on Vincent Price because mid-Atlantic accent, and then I start going on about how I can't and of course Vincent Price reminded me about facial hair and how I cannot be with another man who has facial hair anymore, not since I worked a corn nut out of my face within the first 10 days after a photo shoot wherein I was going for illusion drag, with the 1920s realness, meaning shave the chops. I intended to grow them back after I shaved them, but then, like I said, I worked the corn nut out, and I had to nope all up in that. I can't. Because like I said, I know how I know how well I stuck to my own skincare regimen. And even if I know for a fact that the other guy is at least as dedicated to his own skincare regimen as I described myself as being, so like he can be at least that painstaking about it, possibly even more so, but there is still that thought in my head that no, underneath that otherwise immaculately groomed, like chops or goatee or Van Dyke. The difference between a goatee and a Van Dyke is Van Dyke does not have a connecting mustache. A goatee does have a connecting mustache. So yeah, like, he can have like one of the Vincent Price, like Van Dyke, or, like just like a full goatee or whatever. I've never been into a full beard. Don't ask me why. I've just never been into a full beard. You can have like, even the Lemmy sort of thing where the mustache connects to the chops. He can have some full ass Brian Jones, Rolling Stones original drummer, like wild ass ginger chops that are just like gorgeous, right? It does nothing for me anymore. It used to, at least occasionally. I mean, I've always had at least a slight preference for a clean shaven face on a guy. But yeah, I just. Oh, hello, Siska. Oh my gosh. I don't know. I just kept today's very casual. I've been in the middle of cleaning my kitchen because of seasonal affective. It's now very much springtime as per the weather and Fahrenheit temperatures here in my part of Michigan. We're still probably going to see a light, dusting of snow the first week of April. That's just kind of a thing in this part of Michigan. You usually get a light snow first week of April for no reason other than it's Michigan. Except 2020. 2020 threw us for a loop, and it was the second week of April. It was the second week of April we had a light snow that, like, it didn't even stick overnight, right? But yeah, it's like still like, you wake up, there's a light dusting of snow, first or second week of April. But yeah. But yeah, it's still very much springtime, so my seasonal affective is feeling a bit better, and so hold on a sec. I just found a bit that I wanted to. There's a bit on the floor that's been bothering me, like the time I've been standing here. So yeah, like the table. So I did roll up my my puzzle that I started last week into the around the tube. So right, I'm just glad that I got it on a sale price. That I was able to coupon down a little bit more as well, rather than paying a full 15 for what amounted to about 1.5 yards of green felt plus a couple of cardboard tubes stuck together and a few inches of Velcro with a few inches of elastic. I'm glad I got that for about $5.50-ish after coupons and sales, rather than paying full price for it, especially after realizing like what all it was. I was thinking at least like is this at least like, like a more durable mat under there? Like that's why I thought it might have been, $15 suggested retail price, but no, it's just felt. It's just felt. Probably a polyester based felt, but it's still just felt. So yeah, like my table right now, I rolled up the puzzle last week very easily. I'm actually like kind of impressed with like how simple that, that little puzzle saver kit. Well, like while you're still in the middle of it, like I'm not talking like the puzzle saver glues that I use. But yeah, that little like, that little kit, like I said, with like the big felt mat plus the tubes and the elastic and Velcro. But yeah, like it's ingenious in its simplicity, right? It's one of those things that is just ingenious in how fucking simple it is. I was kind of impressed. a bit more impressed than maybe most people would be. But like I said, it's one of those things that like when you really like, when it really hits you just like how simple this is and yet how ingenious at the same time, you're just like, what the fuck? How come this whole like contraption like didn't occur to me before, right? So you gotta like be a little impressed with how somebody was not only able to think of it, but able to market such a kit at such a markup too, right? I'm like, God damn, I could have filed a patent on this myself and been rich, but oh well, what are you gonna do? And yeah, it's like, it's impressive in how simple it is. But so yeah, like there's hobby stuff on the table right now. Like there's so I've been cleaning my kitchen, including washing the walls. In fact, Duolingo, in the Welsh refresher course that I've been taking, it has lines about washing the ceiling, right? I was actually impressed at like how irrelevant that is to my life during like, you know, my first couple weeks coming out of my seasonal affective disorder, right? So coming out of my winter depression, it's like, wow, what the shit? That's actually really relevant to my life. I was looking at that phrase kind of cockeyed for a bit when it would come up in my Duolingo Welsh refresher bits. And I'd just be like, what the fuck? This, goddamn, this lets me, like, it's, washing ceilings to Duolingo Welsh is it's as ubiquitous to Duolingo's Welsh course as needing a lawyer seems to be to Duolingo's Irish course. Not quite as ubiquitous to Duolingo's Welsh course as Owen and his parsnips. If you use Duolingo, at least work your way through, like, you know, the introductory lessons to the Welsh course, right? And read some of the comments when you get to all the stuff about parsnips. When you start reading stuff about parsnips, you know, which I think comes in like the first couple like food or mealtime relevant portions. Yeah, when you start seeing stuff about parsnips, like go and read the comments. Like there's some like deep Duolingo lore in the Welsh lessons about Owen and his parsnips. Not quite as much about washing ceilings, which, like I said, it turned out to be very relevant because fruit flies, right? And the fruit flies were especially bad in 2020 because I was not allowed to leave my apartment for most of 2020. Or, well, technically I could have, but I would have been a bit less of a responsible adult by doing so. And so in my desire to be seen as a responsible adult, or at least responsible enough, right? A responsible-ish adult. Let's be honest. Responsible-ish adult is probably the better way to describe myself. So in my desire to try and balance my the overt impression that I tend to give the average person of being a complete madman, I try to balance this with appearing a responsible-ish adult, right? So as a responsible-ish adult, I decided to stay in most of 2020, and apparently cooking at home in the middle of summer leads to fruit flies. Who would have thought? Plus, my garbage disposal has been broken for a few months. The motor runs, but nothing happens. The motor runs, the blades don't. The motor runs, the blades don't. Like, I'm pretty sure I know what happened. I think it might be as stupid as a pistachio shell, but on the other hand, when the garbage disposal stopped running the blade in December, my kitchen was in a sorry enough state that I did not want handymen up in here looking at what had become of my life at that time. So now that I'm cleaning up the kitchen some, in fact, this side, honestly, the worst about this side is right now there's dishes and there's something on the there's things on the there's things on the stove right now that suffered a spill a couple weeks ago. I know about that. I did figure out the how the spill happened, because I don't think it happened while I was awake. But yeah, so it's like there's a thing I gotta wash that got a really gross spill. But I didn't take care of it right away. First, because I was still kind of deep in my winter depression, like serious, legit clinical depression. Like, that is seasonal affective disorder, right? Like, it is legit clinical depression where you barely want to face the day, if you can bring yourself to face the day at all, right? Like, that is what drove me nuts about this one woman in the pagan polytheist blogosphere who I have a bit of a history with. And by saying I have a bit of a history with her, I mean I can't fucking stand this woman. I cannot fucking stand this woman. This woman changes religion and decides that she is enough of an authority about her new religion to blog about this religion, and she changes her specific pagan religion like as easily as most people, like change socks, right? Like, she thinks nothing. And like I said, she goes like whole hog, like after like barely 2 weeks in her new religion. She has decided that she's enough of an authority to blog about this religion and make herself seem authoritative about this. And I fucking can't stand her. But wait, where was I going with that? Okay, right. Oh yeah. She had a post when she was still working for the Pathos Pagan section. She was their editor. And by saying that, you can probably look her up. It's Star Foster. I'm not ashamed of my long-standing revulsion of Star Foster. I can't fucking stand that woman. But yeah, I'm not naming the elevated groupie because I know if I even named the musician she has become linked to as the elevated groupie she is, like, she definitely works very closely with this guy. Nobody wants to deal with her. But many who are more currently active in the live music scene than I've been in a while will just kind of grin and bear it, because they're just like, well, I have known worse elevated groupies. I'm sure some of them have anyway. But yeah, where was I going? All right, yeah. Star Foster. She did this post like back when she was still working for Pathos as a pagan blogger. She included seasonal affective disorder in the title, pretty sure anyway. She definitely included it in the little SEO tags, search engine optimization tags, and keywords for that blog post. And she made it sound like seasonal affective disorder is something that everybody experiences. It's just when like November is cold and gray and it feels yucky outside, and that kind of makes you feel like not doing anything until things pick up again in December with all of the seasonal festivities. This is her impression of seasonal affective disorder. And when she made that blog post on Pathos 100 years ago, now, it was probably 10 years ago at this point. And yes, I am still holding her like responsible for spreading misinformation about that, because this blog post still exists on Pathos. It will still come up if you search Star Foster SAD, Star Foster seasonal depression, right? It will still come up, right? I think she'd already blocked me from commenting on her personal blogging on Pathos by that point. But yeah, so I took it to my own blog, and I was just like, this is not seasonal affective disorder. What she describes is not seasonal affective disorder. This is just like feeling like the late autumn blahs that many people experience, but it's not seasonal affective disorder. Like it is not a disordered it is not a disordered mood that she's describing. She's not describing a disordered mood, which is why it's called seasonal affective disorder. She is describing something that is a very common phenomenon where, you know, like, yes, it can be gray and sleeting outside, and it's very, very overcast even in the middle of the day, and you just kind of don't feel like doing anything outside, so you do something more quiet inside, right? You know, a lot of people feel like that, like, based on, just like based on certain kinds of weather patterns, and while it might have some association with the seasons, it's not a disordered level. It's not a mood disordered level of this, seasonal weather mood affecting phenomenon, right? Like, that's not seasonal affective disorder what she was describing. She was describing, like I said, like the relatively common phenomenon where people's moods will be either directly or indirectly, but very low key, influenced by the general weather outside, right? Like I said, it's a very common phenomenon, but that doesn't qualify, that alone does not make it seasonal affective disorder. Seasonal affective disorder is like pretty much me, I want to say like late November 2020 until like maybe earlier this week, like as in this last week. It was like, I hated the mess that has become of this place over 2020, but I just could not find it in myself to be motivated to pick it up. I was just like, fuck it. I'll deal with this when I deal with this. I just do not want to deal with anything. I don't want to deal with anything. I barely want to get out of bed, but I have to because I have cats, and they'll get hungry if I don't get out of bed, and maybe they might start eating me. But no, actually, like Caitlin Doherty, she actually busted that myth. It's actually dogs who are more likely to nibble on your corpse if you die and no other human is around to, take you to the morgue. Like your dog will start gnawing on you before your cat will. And the reason she suspects dogs do this is because dogs are more prone to stress eating than cats usually are, which makes sense. Dogs have been hanging out with us dogs have been hanging out with hominids since Homo erectus. Like, this has been anthropologically proven. Like, there's very strong theory to suggest that Homo sapiens possibly would not have even happened if not for our symbiotic relationship with dogs, like, in the evolutionary line since Homo erectus, right? So it's like, humans as we are now probably would not have survived if not for building a symbiotic relationship with dogs. So like humans are very easily prone to stress eat, unlike many other great apes, as we are. We are just an especially bald form of great ape, right? But yeah, humans, even compared to other great apes, we are prone to stress eating. Dogs, who evolved symbiotically with us since before we were even Homo sapiens, possibly related to, their symbiotic relationship with us, almost certainly related to their symbiotic evolutionary relationship with us. Dogs are also very prone to stress eating. Cats, on the other hand, kind of domesticated us about 5,000 years ago. While Egypt certainly gets a lot of credit for this, and not without reason, the oldest archaeological evidence of cats being beloved house pets and possibly having some form of spiritual or religious associations. And I bring that up for a reason. I'll get to it in a sec. So like the oldest evidence of cats being a beloved part of human household, human society, goes back to Cyprus, Cyprus. So like the earliest Greek colonies on Cyprus, again Cyprus. I I lapse into my barely adequate Greek pronunciation sometimes. So yeah, like and the oldest confirmed evidence of this is a burial plot with remains of a cat. I can't remember if there was any form of mummification, whether intentional or natural, but yeah, like there's remains of a cat with seashells placed around its body in the gravesite. This was how it was discovered. Like it was buried with seashells and a couple other things. But you look into Cypriot mythology and its influence on Hellenic mythology, and seashells have been heavily associated with Aphrodite before she was fully adopted into the Hellenic pantheon. So yeah, like the Cypriot, like the colonized Cypriot island and their local religion almost certainly had some associations between cats and their local cultist to Aphrodite. So yeah, like I said, like not only beloved house pets, but clearly holding some sort of religious associations that, like this was most likely just like based on other evidence around the gravesite. This was probably indeed somebody's, beloved house pet, rather than, a temple animal. But, like that's how closely local cultists had come to associate cats with their Aphrodite symbolism, was that, this old like little burial site that somebody gave to their cat, was arranged with seashells and other imagery associated with Aphrodite. So yeah, like this is the oldest confirmed evidence we have of cats being part of human society, and it goes back only about 5,000 years. So yeah, and all anthropological evidence about the domestication of the cat. So much like how domestic dogs are a subspecies of Canis lupus lupus, well, some mix of a subspecies between Canis lupus lupus, which is the European gray wolf, and Canis lupus dingo, which is the Australian dingo. Actually, a lot of dog breeds have more genes in common to dingo than European gray wolf. But the European gray wolf gets all the credit for the modern domestic dog. Isn't that interesting? like in the common, social knowledge that we have of these things, like the European gray wolf gets all the credit, but it was discovered, I think only in this last 50 years or something, that actually they carry slightly more genetic commonalities with Canis lupus dingo than Canis lupus lupus. So yeah, like I said, much like your domestic dog is a subspecies of Canis lupus. I forget, Canis lupus domesticus? I don't remember, but yeah. So yeah, your domestic dog is a subspecies of Canis lupus. Similarly, the modern domestic house cat is a subspecies of the African wildcat. In fact, like Nigel is about the same size as your average African wildcat. So like when the vet and I joke that, you know, like he's my contraband, you know, illegal panther, you know, he's my little illegal jaguar or whatever. Because you know, you can't legally own wildcats as a house pet in Michigan without certain licensing. I'm pretty sure Michigan's one of those states, but yeah. So like I said, like Nigel is about the average size of your African wildcat. Nigel's about 18 and a half pounds. He might even be on the slightly larger end, like as far as his dimensions and everything goes. He's at least dead average, but yeah, he's about the size of your average African wildcat. So yeah, like I said, cats are a subspecies of the African wildcat. And so what happened there, in fact, like the reason that, you know, you can say that they're a subspecies is much like dogs. Like, you know, if you've got a dog, you know, like tethered in your backyard or just like hanging out in your backyard, and for some reason, like somehow a wolf gets in there and mates with your dog, you know, the puppies will be able to, you know, the puppies that come of this, unlike a mule, which is a cross between a horse and donkey, you know, their offspring are sterile. The same goes with ligers, which are like half lion, half tiger. They will have viable offspring, but those offspring will be sterile. So yeah, like a domestic dog and a wolf, their offspring can go and have more babies of their own. The same goes with the domestic house cat and the African wildcat. Like, they can make babies, and those babies can make babies, right? So what happened, most likely, in fact, like, my dad kind of figured this out himself without even really reading much about it beforehand, was that, you know, he says, he says, like, you can train a dog, but, you know, your cat trains you. like, look at them. Like they know that, you know, like that if they'd let's just like kill mice, we'd give them better food to eat. And that's basically like how it happened, right? The cat, you know, like some ancestors of our current domestic house cats, two of which are on my spot on the couch that I'm going to kick them out of in about 20 minutes or so when I wrap this shit up. That is my spot. I love you, but that's my spot. But thanks for keeping it warm for me. But yeah, so yeah, like what these, like, you know, curious African wildcats decided way back about 5,000 and some years ago is like, hey, those people, they keep these grain, like, yeah, those like big bald apes, they keep these buildings that has all this grain, which doesn't interest us, but the mice and the rats eat the grain. So, you know, we can go like have maybe a couple rats for lunch and then just go kill some mice and birds for the hell of it, which is, you know, like what cats do. That's what literally every species of cat does. It's like a very well-fed cat, regardless of its species, will occasionally just kill for fun. Yeah, like with the wild species, you know, like the big cats and the smaller wild cats, they kill far more for sustenance. But if they are in an area where they are, you know, where they can remain very well fed, they'll occasionally just kill for shits and giggles. Like, like it's cats, humans, the common chimp, not bonobos. The common chimp, I think a species of baboon, and some species of porpoise, dolphin, and or whale are like the only animals on Earth who kill for fun. Oh shit, Siska's saying something about good night. Thank you for this. I'm going to start my day. Oh, thank you so much, Siska. I'm glad you showed up for a time. I have a problem. People don't understand the PTSD. Oh yeah. People don't really understand, you know, like PTSD or seasonal affective disorder, and you know, and they think it's a lot more basic than it is, and that is endlessly frustrating. But yeah, like like I said, like relative to Star Foster, that woman has no fucking idea what seasonal affective disorder is. It would not surprise me in the 10 years since she made that blog post that she still has not figured out what it is, or at least it wouldn't surprise me if I were to learn that tonight, right? Like I can go find whatever blog she's bullshitting herself from lately. I haven't kept tabs on her in a few years, but I'm sure I could like find her, and she's still like talking her same bullshit that she always has. She's one of those people who doesn't know near as much as she thinks she does, right? Which is why I said, like, you know, why her summary of seasonal affective disorder was kind of my last straw regarding like how much patience I had left for her. So, but yeah, so cats, you know, like my dad would say, like, yeah, you're gonna train a dog. You're gonna train a dog. You can own a dog, but a cat trains you. You belong to the cat, not the other way around. Let me help you out this. And then he'd start going off on his own, like I do half the time. Often he'd somehow drag France into this. I don't know what the hell that guy had against the French. I really don't. But I know my stepmother used to joke with him that he sounded a lot more English the more he goes on about France than he sounds Irish, right? You know, just one of those like good-natured jokes between like, you know, like close friends and family, right? That like, you know, like this is like just kind of like a teasing thing. Not something to take too seriously, but it's like, I don't know what the hell that guy had against France. I really don't. It was weird sometimes, but yeah, he'd somehow drag France into his like crazy ravings. Like, thankfully, I don't drag France into this. I have nothing against the French. I find a lot of French men incredibly attractive too, but yeah. So yeah, like cats, you know, like way back about 5,000 plus years ago, like, you know, some little individuals of the African wildcat, they're just like, hey, like those big bald apes that go around walking like perfectly upright, like they have these buildings that they've created, and they put the grain in the buildings, and the mice and the rats and the birds are attracted to the grain. And after we have a couple of those for lunch, we can just go killing for fun, right? And, you know, as long as we hang around those little like grain houses that they make, you know, we're set. And then, you know, the people started noticing like, hey, these cats are hanging around here all the time, killing off some mice and rats and occasional birds that want our grain. So, you know, as a thank you to the cat, let's give them some good food because, you know, those little field mice can, you know, they're probably nowhere near as filling, right? They're probably not very filling, you know, so let's like show some appreciation to this cat who didn't have to, you know, like kill all those mice and, you know, and rodents after our grain. They didn't have to do this for us, but they wanted to. So, you know, let's like show them some thanks like we do to like the other like spirits who like both bless our home and, you know, act as apotropaic, you know, like warding off the, you know, negative spirits. Like, you know, like, so we give thanks to the deities and the local spirits who, like, you know, both bless our home and repel the malevolent forces from our home. So let us give some thanks to the cats, much like we give thanks to the, you know, precious little songbirds, you know, like when we're out taking a walk in, you know, in the park for whatever reasons, because, you know, this is 5,000 years ago here on Kyprus. And so yeah, like, let's give thanks to these cats. They didn't have to do this for us, you know. It's not like we have an agreement with them like we do with our dogs, right? Like, you know, we take the dogs out hunting, the dogs will go retrieve a duck for us that we just shot down with, like, this mighty arrow, whatever. And, you know, like, the dog understands that, you know, we have this system, right? The dog understands that they work for us and we repay them with food and shelter and, you know, and awesome cuddles. But these cats, we didn't even ask them to. They just did it. So let's just thank them like we would any other, you know, like local spirits and, you know, good entities who bless our home in various ways. And so yeah, like that's kind of how cats trained us is, you know, like it was definitely happening elsewhere in the Middle East at the time. You know, and I say like Middle East very vaguely, so I'm like Egypt, Greece, you know, like all the rest of the Greek islands, probably parts of the Arabian Peninsula with like Mesopotamia and all of that, and Babylon. So it's like there are definitely cats like in that whole area around the Mediterranean, Sea. Wait, yeah. Wait, no, Aegean is um in that area as well. What am I thinking? Oh, I'm thinking Baltic. Baltic is Scandinavian. Okay, so yeah, like around that whole like Fertile Crescent kind of area, like it was not like contained to the Isle of Cyprus. That's just like where we have the oldest surviving evidence of domestic house cats. But yeah, like Egypt absolutely like deserves like all the credit that they have had for centuries around their relationship with cats, like because they were very explicit about their love for cats and how grateful they were to cats, and like their goddess Bastet, who is very she's very concerned with household affairs. She blesses fertility. I forget other areas where she is considered broadly associated, but like she was one of their most popular goddesses during like the heyday of ancient Egypt. So and they represented her in with the image of a cat's face. So like I said, like Egypt absolutely deserves the reputation that they have. It's just like I said, that the oldest extant evidence is on the Isle of Cyprus during what is believed to be an early Grecian period on Cyprus. So yeah, so that's kind of like how I went from complaining about how the new owners of my building are jacking up my rent 24.02% or whatever with the lease renewal. I am going to be in contact with legal services to see what I can do about negotiating this, because that is obnoxious during a public health crisis, to say the least. So yeah, like I said, like that is just fucking obnoxious. I have no intent to move. If I was smart, I just might want to move, but I have no intent to move because, as I discussed in the Discord earlier this week, I have very animistic beliefs, especially for almost especially animistic for a lot of other pagans in my general sphere of tradition and practice. Like, I have a strong foundation with Hellenic polytheism, some Celtic recon. I've had a very mixed history with Celtic recon off and on since like junior high, like 7th grade at least. So I might get into that in a video, definitely an uploaded video. I do have yet another notebook in the sea of notebooks that is my life. I outline a lot of video ideas I have for uploads, and one of them is like a brief history of my own personal pagan practice. But I've been arguing with this other upload for like 3 days now, and if I was smart, I would have admitted defeat 2 days ago, but I keep trying because I'm a madman. So yeah, like, okay. So yeah, like after like all the bills and stuff, and like I said, like Hulu, that will easily go down from 34 to about 18, 19 or something when John Oliver takes another break for a month or two, like he often does on Last Week Tonight. So I am, though, currently splitting my Hulu subscription with my friend Esther, who I mentioned in a recent thing. Seventh Day. Oh yeah, there's a Seventh Day Adventist church around here, and I used to know somebody who's very involved with the Seventh Day Adventists. I think I did find him on Facebook a few months ago, and I'm pretty sure he's moved out to the Seattle area and is I don't remember what kind of hierarchy exists with the Seventh Day Adventists, but I know he's some level of priesthood now with them. I've always had mixed feelings about them. Like, I know that they're very much about vegetarian, at least with their various like big events kind of things, but and that's cool. But I don't know a whole lot about the structure of their church. I know that at some point, Dr. John Harvey Kellogg, yes, the cereal guy, well, one of the cereal guys, him and his brother, but at some point, so he was associated with the Seventh-day Adventists for a long-ass time, but at some point, even though the cultural memory still associates Kellogg, especially in Michigan, because that was like out in Jackson, like I want to say like maybe a half-hour drive from here, but I don't drive, so yeah, like Kellogg is very much still associated with the Seventh-day Adventists in Michigan anyway, but at some point he got too crazy for them, and they actively tried to dissociate from Kellogg. Yeah, they encourage vegetarian. Okay, yeah. So yeah, let's see. I can't remove Microsoft because that's where my OneDrive storage goes. At this point, I am Daily Show and Late Show with Colbert is very much a part of my morning routine. Is like I watch the previous night's news while I'm doing my morning routine stuff. At least Tuesday through Friday, anyway. So yeah, like Paramount Plus would be very difficult for me to sacrifice just because it has become so integral to my morning routine over the last few years. So yeah, Hulu, I'm technically splitting that cost with my friend Esther, who I've been friends with since 1998. I know there's a couple people who regularly tune into my stream who are only a year or two older than my friendship with Esther, which this kind of blows my mind when I think about it. I think this came up during my last WFKU show. So yeah, I'm technically splitting Hulu with Esther. So it says 34 here, but she sends me like about half Z's whenever during the month. Steampunk Act. Okay, I knew it was one of the regulars, but I couldn't remember if it was you or Charity Bays. Oh gosh, I probably messed up your name horribly, but so yeah, like Peacock, I would feel hesitant to sacrifice that, especially because I'm only on the I'm on the limited ads plan, which gives me access to Peacock originals, but with limited advertisement. If I was going to use the free version of the Peacock streaming, I would have a far more limited library, and I would not be able to access the Peacock originals, which includes the sitcom AP Bio. I think they have been renewed for another season, and I have very mixed feelings about that show because it's set in Toledo, Ohio, which is where I grew up until the age of 12. Which, yes, is technically still Metro Detroit. Trust me on this, especially if you're a Chicago native and you regard Gary, Indiana as kind of part of the greater Chicagoland area, then you understand why Toledo, Ohio is part of Metro Detroit. And most Chicagoans I've known, even if only begrudgingly, accept Gary, Indiana as part of the greater Chicagoland area. And the same is true for both, that like Gary is about a half-hour drive on the freeway from Chicago. Same with Toledo to Detroit. If you know which freeways to take, it's about 30, maybe 40 minutes tops. Right? So yeah. I've become very attached to AP Bio. I have very mixed feelings about this because they have a very inconsistent impression of the city. I have seen some reviews posted by people writing for like the Toledo Blade and other, Metro Detroit local news sources who are very hostile towards AP Bio. They think that they think that the writer's room for AP Bio seems to have an especial hate on for the city of Toledo. I can kind of see that in some of the more recent episodes, like Kate Hudson Day. I hated that episode. That one just felt downright mean about people from Toledo. That is literally my least favorite episode. I hate that episode. The only way I'd rewatch that episode is just like if I'm in a crochet hole and I've got it like on a binge, right? I hate that episode. Like I said, it just feels downright mean about people from Toledo, that it is going out of their way to portray people from Toledo in an especially negative, albeit quirky light. It's just cruel. It is cruel to people from Toledo. I hate that episode, but I'm otherwise very attached to the show. I really enjoy it. It's very much one of those things that's kind of like loosely inspired by The Office and like IT Crowd, where it's about like horrible coworkers stealing each other's lunches in the break room and shit. But it's set in a high school. It's set in a high school, right? But it's set in a high school that is set in Toledo. So yeah, I'd feel very, very weird about like losing my Peacock originals because I would not be keeping up with AP Bio. I will if I have to, but it's only $6. Like $6 will not make or break me, right? Or only under very specific circumstances will only $6 make or break me for a month. BritBox, I can easily do without most of the year. There will be times, though, where I really need Are You Being Served or Keeping Up Appearances, as this kind of a comfort thing to watch on a binge. I grew up with those shows. I'm very attached to them. I would like to keep plodding my way through classic Doctor Who. But yeah, I can easily sacrifice BritBox most of the year. And like occasionally return to it, like say 2, maybe 3 times a year, right? I can easily sacrifice Marquee. It's $9 a month, but that's $9 a month that, wherein I watch 1, maybe 2 operas and or ballets, during the month. And that feels like more than worth the $9 to me, right? But like I said, I can easily do without. So right there, we've got $15 that I can like put back into my account. Plus, like I said, like go halfsies on the Hulu. So Hulu is effectively $17 a month after Esther gets me back whenever in the month she does. I would, though, feel very inclined to cancel my Imperfect Foods subscription, even though I only use 1 shipment a month, just for matters of cost. But yeah, that would definitely be the first to go. So right there, like I budget myself for in the area of $50 max a month via Imperfect Foods. So like I said, $50 max. I usually keep it in the area of 40 to 45, but still, like that's $50 in the monthly budget. So let's see, 50 plus 17 reimbursed from Esther. So we're at 67 plus 15. That would be, let's see, 72, 82. So that's $82 we're freeing up with, ditching BritBox, Marquee, and Imperfect Foods, right? And then, like I said, I'm going to downgrade my Artfire shop before summer. Before the beginning of summer, I'm going to downgrade my Artfire shop to the free one. So that'll be another $20 saved. So let's see, we were at 83. So that's about $103 that I'm freeing up. If I can make this app that I'm using on my laptop, I'm going to experiment with something for a minute when I go to retry this this cursed upload for the YouTube that I've been arguing with for days now. Shit, I've been arguing with this thing since like Wednesday. Yeah, it's been most of a week. Wait, is that Niles Crane poster on my cabinet? Oh, this one here? This one, you were close. If this is what you were thinking of, your guess at the name is close enough. This is, she's a singer and performance art musician, and she's actually been doing a lot of painting more recently. She's based out of Detroit. She's done a lot of work with Ron Ashton, especially. Like, he's best known for the Stooges. Best known amongst my circle of friends here, in which I am about 2 degrees separated from Ron Ashton, so 3 degrees from this fine lady who has been an immense influence on my own performance art style. Her thing, this is Niagara. Her, or at least, you know, her stage name is Niagara Dam, D-A-M-N, right? Niagara Dam, and her project that she's best known for is Destroy All Monsters. In fact, I've got another Destroy All Monsters poster over that way. But yeah, Niagara Dam, Niles Crane, close enough, I suppose. You're off by a couple syllables and 1 letter in the alphabet. But yeah, this is the poster where she's got some ostensibly artificial insects crawling on her luscious visage. And at the top of the caption is, "I left my heart in Detroit." And so yeah, like, I'm about 3 degrees separated from her. But oh yeah, Ron Ashton. So amongst circles of friends of mine, I killed Ron Ashton. This is a long-standing joke amongst many of my friends and I, especially Best X, is I kill people. I kill like Z-list celebrities by simply talking about them, and then like within 2 weeks later, like, somebody could just like come to my mind for no apparent reason, and maybe about 20% of the time, not quite that much, but yeah, like, definitely a disturbing amount of time, at least enough that it's been noticed amongst my friends and I, and it's been noticed enough to disturb us. That, yeah, like, I kill Z-list celebrities by thinking of them, and then within usually the area of 2 weeks, sometimes as much as a month. So yeah, going by this, I killed Guinness World Record holder for longest living human, Jean-Marie Clement, I believe was her name. She lived to be 123 years old, give or take. But yeah, she lived to be about 123 years old. Confirmed, definitely. I killed her. That happened over a weekend. I was in study hall with a friend of mine in high school. We were talking. We were talking over a game of chess. My high school friend Tad and I. That is just kind of how we spent study hall. Was like, we would play chess. Sometimes we would play Othello, as in the game with the little discs that you flip black or white. But yeah, we would just like use study hall to play board games, like, as long as we were being quiet enough, right? And yeah, like, somehow she became a topic of conversation. Following Monday, I returned to study hall, which is like yeah, that's the only, we had study hall together. Like, the first year was coincidental. The following 2 years, we kind of tried to plan it out that way. That we'd have the study hall together, like, during my 3 full years of high school, which was in a different city, but my last semester was at Pioneer in Ann Arbor. So yeah, like, the next Monday, I come into study hall. Tad has a rolled up newspaper that he is like brandishing in my direction, and he says, "You killed her!" And I was like, "What? No, I killed no one." And he shows me the article about how she died, and she was like the oldest confirmed living human. So yeah, I killed a 123-year-old French woman back in high school. That was about 100 years ago this year. Let's see. I killed Malia Nurmi. I killed Al Lewis, aka Grandpa Munster, who is like the only part of that show that I find watchable. I have a rant in me about the Addams Family versus the Munsters, and why there is a correct and incorrect answer if I quiz you on this during one of our first few dates, right? There is a right and a wrong answer. And I'm sure you know the right answer based on what I just said about Al Lewis making the show watchable. That's another story for another time. But yeah, I killed Jean-Marie Clement, I believe. I often bork up her last name, but just like look up Jean-Marie, oldest confirmed French woman. You'll find out her actual surname that way. So yeah, I killed her. I killed Malia Nurmi. I killed Al Lewis. Those were both in the same year. I killed Ron Ashton because yeah, this was like one of the longest periods it took. This was closer to a month later. So yeah, like when there were still video rentals in, you know, like especially locally owned video rental shops, right? Best X and I were at the little funky locally owned hole in the wall one called Liberty Street Video, which was on Liberty Street in Ann Arbor. Very impressive, creative name, as I'm sure we can all see. They had a bunch of weird little sections, right? They had cult classics. They had, let's see, they had several sections of foreign films divided up by country or general region. So like there was like British Isles, which, you know, UK and Ireland, British Isles, France, Germany, former USSR, you know, Greek, Estonian, Swedish. There was one section that was marked Swedish, and the next section was marked assorted Scandinavian. Or was there Sweden, Denmark, assorted Scandinavia? I don't know, something like that. I know like Norway and Finland, Norwegian and Finnish films were definitely kind of together, even though the two languages are very different in how they evolved. But that's another story for another time. So, and then, of course, in the basement was where they kept all the more mainstream stuff, right? You know, like that's what they put, like that's their dirty little secret at that store. It's like all the mainstream movies, right? Like all the like, you know, Oscar nominated dramas, all the, you know, all the light summer comedies. Those were in the basement, right? You know, all the Disney children's fare, that was all in the basement. They did have in their rental spot a bootleg DVD of Song of the South under cult classics. But yeah, you see how we loved this place. So they also had a section of Michigan films. They had a section right next to cult classics marked Michigan films. And in Michigan films is this film that was filmed largely in Tecumseh, Michigan, called, I think it's just called Wendigo. But it has Ron Ashton in it. And so, like, I pointed that out. I'm like, oh my God, Scott, this has Ron Ashton. And he's like, who? Yeah, so yeah, like, Best X is like, wait, who? I'm like, dude, Ron Ashton, the Stooges, like, Iggy Pop's, like, right-hand guitarist, because I don't think Iggy can play very well. I think the extent of Iggy Pop's guitar abilities are seen in the music video for Candy that he does with Kate Pearson, right? I think that's the extent of his abilities on guitar. But but yeah, I'm like, you know, the Stooges, destroy all monsters. Dude, the man's a legend. And he's like, and Scott's like, what? Okay, I trust you. You know, you're the music guy in the relationship. And like, even the clerk at the store at the time was like, dude, Ron Ashton, like, you know, still lives out in Ipsy. How do you not know Ron Ashton? And Scott's like, and Scott had no excuse. Scott had no explanation. But yeah, I killed Ron Ashton because I rented a really, like, this movie was made on like a budget of $10, right? It was that low budget. It was that goddamn low budget. But yeah, like, I rented that movie, and about 3.5 weeks later, Ron Ashton is found dead in his apartment, and I'm just like, all right, I've killed Ron Ashton. I've killed a, oh God, wait, no, there was somebody recent. There was somebody more recent. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've killed again. Oh my God, oh shit. This is gonna drive me nuts. And then I'm gonna like bolt up at like 6 a.m. and be like, that's who it was I was thinking of. That's who I killed in the last year and a half. God, I can't remember. Oh, right on the tip of my tongue too. And I was like, I've killed again. What the hell? I think I kind of blamed myself for Storm Constantine, but at the same time, I was also feeling like a whole lot of Catholic guilt about criticizing Moonshal and her very bad Welsh throughout Moonshal, but I'll blame Catholic guilt that killed Storm Constantine. My Catholic guilt. It wasn't me directly, not in the same way I killed Ron Ashton and Malia Nurmi, but yeah, it was like the manifestation of my Catholic guilt that did Storm Constantine, and she might have had a couple more months if not for me. But yeah, we're at about the 3-hour mark, and oh right, so yeah, my budget. So I'm gonna be pitching my Patreon and do a little bit more with Teespring ideas. So if you want to get somebody a T-shirt, like I said, in one of my community tab posts, I am keeping the pricing on my Teespring shirts within the range that somebody on a budget similar to my own can justify the expense of, which means compared to other YouTubers, I'm probably brutally underselling myself. I understand this, but at the same time, I also understand my budget, and I understand that that the bread and butter of the little quirky-ish goth community of mine that I've built up around my rambly-ass madman videos, most of you aren't that much better off than me as far as finances go. So, like I said, I want to keep the pricing of the T-shirt like enough that I'm making an okay profit, but not so much that that a person on my kind of budget would feel like they can't afford one if they really, really wanted one. Like, even if you have to like scroll away like $5 a month for, you know, like for a few months, like you can still afford one of these T-shirts if you really want it that much, right? So yeah, let's see. So yeah, oh yeah. If the shit, brain farting on the name. It begins and ends with an A. The app I'm using on my laptop to make videos. I'm gonna fart around with this a little more. I might also try another app. So yeah, like I can sacrifice the KindMaster app that I pay a monthly $6 license for on my phone. I haven't used that in some months because I haven't made an upload in some months. So I can easily like not do that. In fact, like I probably could cancel it right now and save myself $6 this month. Especially since the upload I'm trying to do right now is on my laptop. But so yeah, so yeah, like right here, I'm looking at about $100 that I can easily free up by canceling a couple streaming services that I barely use, compared to other ones. I can cancel my Imperfect Foods subscription. I don't like that I would have to do that, but I will to free up a little extra cash. And I can, you know, I was going to downgrade my Artfire shop. I can cancel KindMaster for my phone uploads. And then so like after my Social Security, that's exactly $1,111 a month as of like 2021. Then let's see, I consistently get in the area of about $5 on Patreon, and the reason that has a disparity between what I just said and what it shows on my Patreon page is because Patreon deducts from my payout what I pledge to other artists. So I am supporting a few other artists, you know, even by only $1 a month, but I am still like pledging a tiny amount to other artists on Patreon. So, and there's a couple of for whom I would feel really bad if I were to cancel that support. And I think it's Catholic guilt at this point. I think it's just Catholic guilt creeping into my head, especially this because of 2020. It's all coming back at me. And then let's see, excuse me. So I use the Ibotta app. I mentioned that very early in the stream. But oh wait, no, I mentioned Receipt Hog very early in the stream. But yeah, I use Ibotta. It does consistently pay me out an average of $35 a month that I have deposited directly into my bank account. So that comes to about $1,152 a month. And so, like I said, if I were to cancel the things that I mentioned in my current monthly things, that would come to before the rent increase, that would come to like I said, minus that $100 worth of subscription fees. That would come to a monthly expense report of about $858. So when the rent, so if I can't get them to come down on the rent, like I would not be opposed to a 15% increase. I'd be a little less unopposed to a 20% increase, but I will pay the full 24% increase if I have to, because, as I said on the Discord a few days ago, my beliefs as a pagan, like my own personal pagan theology that I have come to accept as my own, is especially animistic compared to a lot of the other pagans I have been compared to a bunch of the other pagan communities I've been more closely associated with during, my own spiritual journey. So you don't see a lot of Hellenists or Celtic polytheists who are as hardcore animistic as I am, right? Like, this little apartment is my home. I'm very drawn here. There is a wealth of household spirits who have been with me through so much. Like, I had a very troubling relationship with this unit last year, especially like when the COVID-19 lockdown was hitting me really hard early in the summer. But it was like, I would compare it to like a very troubled sort of marriage that is definitely salvageable, but you need some therapy to get through it, to get through a really tough time. And so that's how it was. It was like at the stage, like before, we admitted to ourselves that we needed some therapy, and in the form of house therapy, I've done some various little like ritualized sort of things to like kind of make peace with my home again. And it's been very receptive. So like I said, I will pay the full 24% increase if I have to. Ideally, I'd like to negotiate this down to, let's see, I did not have the standard 5% increase at the 2020 renewal. So like ideally, I'd like to go to like, like a 5% increase from last year and then another 5%. So like in the area of a 10%. I know like it doesn't quite work out that way, but yeah, like I'd be ideally a 10 to 15% increase. I would have absolutely no problem with. I would have a little bit, I would have slightly more issue with a 20% increase, but if I have to with the full 24% increase, obviously I'd have to cut a lot of things out to keep afloat, basically. So yeah, if you've made it this far and you notice over the next few weeks and all that I am like pushing my Patreon, that I am pushing crafty services of sorts, that if I am pushing my music a bit more than I have over the last couple of years, there's a reason for that. That is because this is my home. This is my home, and while I have certainly gotten through years before with less than I have now, well, I've certainly gotten through periods with less than I have now. I absolutely, oh, thank you so much, Megan and Gact, with all the hugs and the well wishes. But yeah, yeah. So like I said, if I sound like I'm being a bit more pushy with the Patreon and all of my various like little crafty stuff and merchandising and whatnots, there's a reason for that, and that's because oh right, I forgot. Like even in my monthly budget, I did. Why did I not mention that? But yeah, like I usually budget in the area of about $50 a month towards the cathos. That is cathod. Because as you see, I keep my notebook largely in Welsh. But yeah, the cathos average about $50 a month. Or at least that's how I begin the month budgeting. I adjust it based on what their needs for that particular month are. Like this month, well, last month I accidentally bought 2 25-pound bags of cat litter. It was, like an app purchase. I don't know how I accidentally purchased 2 bags, but I did. So yeah, they did not need cat litter this month again. This month as well. I usually get them a new bag of the paper litter for the bathroom litter box, and then I've got the crystal for the kitchen litter box, because for some reason the kitchen box is the one they like to poop in. The bathroom box is the one they like to pee in. If you have cats and you have like a minimum of 2 boxes, they will do this. And if you have multiple cats, they will generally just like keep this have this arrangement worked out amongst them. Every once in a while, you get a cat like Best X's late great cat Bob, who will leave a defiant turd on the top of the pee box, at least once a day. Why he did that, and it was always just that first turd of the day. He had to leave it defiantly on top of the pee box, like unburied and everything. And I'm sure he had his reasons, but I'm sure he had his reasons that only made sense to him and possibly the other cats, since none of them seemed to have a problem with it. But yeah. So yeah, like for some reason, like they've decided the bathroom box is the pee box and the kitchen box is the poo box. And so that's why I use the crystal litter in the kitchen box, because Phoebes are quite toxic sometimes. But we love her because she's a sweet little lady cat. And all right, I'm down to one last weirdo watching the stream. So again, thank you so much for making it this far. This is probably Gact, right? Yeah, feel free to message me on Instagram, Gact in particular, especially if you know anything about like how Discord servers work. Because I want a couple bots to automate things like YouTube scheduling and stuff and all that. Other than that, if you have been watching in the archive and have made it this far through all of my complete nonsense that I do, yeah, if you're watching this in archive, first off, why? Secondly, thank you so much for making it this far, you delightfully strange person, you. So yeah, as always, wear your sunscreen and otherwise take good care of yourself and those you love, and especially your cats, or they will have the dog eat your corpse when you die. Because cats don't stress, and cats are a little bit more picky about what they eat, whereas it is common for dogs to eat something that they find on the ground that ends up making them sick later. Every dog owner I've known does that. So yeah, good night, take care, have exactly the kind of day you deserve. Bats and kisses, and wheel.